fast, man, I feel like going full throttle. Play for keeps, no retreats, that's my whole gospel. Crash and burn, gonna learn, die on this hill. Head first, it's a curse, going in for the kill. Rise up, lock in, man, it's go time. By the one-way ticket to my own grind. Feeling primitive, in it just to win it big. Don't want a little bit, get it when I flip the switch. I like the feeling when I fucking win. I wanna do that shit again and again and again. I have one speed, no brakes, full send. You know it's sink or swim, all the pressure is a friend. I'm attacking, attracting, adapting, I'ma make it happen. I'm the captain, I'm steering the shit straight into the madness. Like a canvas, I'm painting the vision, never going back. And I just wanna fucking ball, push until I got it all. I feel the surge of adrenaline. Come on, I feel the blood pumping yet again. I feel the drive, I just wanna win. I feel the current coursing through my fucking skin. I'm locked in, maxed out, no plan B. I push the chips to the middle, that's everything. Risk it all for the person that I wanna be. Won't stop, that's the version that I'm gonna be. I work blind, got vision I don't need to see. I'm picking mind over matter, I believe in me. I need to find more hours in the day to breathe. Need to find more power in the way I be. And when my mind turns sour with the painful scenes, I need to scream out loud, I can't stop me. I wanna be the greatest like Rocky. You know I leave them all hates like a hobby. I'm out here making moves like a lobby. And if you ain't with me, it's your loss. See, I got my mind on the facts, I'm a python, grab what I like real fast. Choke until I have everything I attack, everything that I lack, everything that I want, and I see matter of fact. Cause I'm my own worst enemy. Only if I let it be. I can control anything if I can just think carefully. I control my destiny. Deep up in my mind I manifest it. Every morning I wake up obsessed, and everything I do the best. And deep within my mind you know I'll always manifest it.
Hello and welcome to My Mind Over Your Matter. My name is Rick. Let's get the show started. I already started smoking because, let me tell you, I've been getting visions and it's not good. And are you ready? Are you ready for what's coming? Because it's not going to be good. And a lot of people are not going to be with us this year. I just have a feeling something really big is going to happen, and a lot of people are going to not be with us, and it's going to be really dark times. I told you 2026 is not going to be a good year, and I'm sticking to that. I have a really strong feeling that we all are being manipulated. We are all being used, and for what? Because their gains, their greediness. I don't know. It's going to be scary times, and we'll talk more about it. Let's get right to the news because we got a lot to cover, and I just want to start with that. We're going to start off with Jason A. So let's get right to it.
Lastly, we have another executive order that President Trump signed relating to independent agencies. This executive order would establish important oversight functions in the Office of Management and Budget and its subsidiary office, OIRA, supervising independent agencies and many of their actions, and also reestablishes the longstanding norm that only the president or the attorney general can speak for the United States when stating an opinion as to what the law is.
Thank you very much, Will. That was the primary purpose of this conference.
Is there anything that could stop you if you wanted to?
Yeah, there's one thing, my own morality, my own mind. It's the only thing that can stop, and that's very good. I don't need international law. I'm not looking to hurt people.
Do you feel your administration needs to abide by international law on the global stage?
Yeah, I do. I do, but it depends what your definition of international law is. You mean in Greenland?
In Greenland,
that's because you needed them at the time.
In the 1951 agreement, though, it says the United States can reopen these bases anytime you want. You can send as many troops as you want, and you haven't done it. How come?
Because I want to do it properly.
And properly means own it?
Really, it is. To me, it's ownership. Ownership is very important.
Why is ownership important here?
Because it's what I feel is psychologically needed for success. I think that ownership gives you a thing that you can't do, whether you're talking about a lease or a treaty. Ownership gives you things and elements that you can't get from just signing.
All this chaos leads to a larger question. What is happening to the world order? Is it being ripped apart? Is it being reshaped? Or is this just a phase? What's happening now is not unprecedented. World powers have always disregarded international law. The difference? How Donald Trump is phrasing it. There is no pretense of following the law. There is no excuse for justification. Trump is owning his violations and recklessness. Look at his recent comments in an interview.
I don't need international law. I'm not looking to hurt people. Yeah, there is one thing, my own morality, my own mind. It's the only thing that can stop me.
So Trump says international law cannot restrict him. Then what can? His own morality, according to Donald Trump.
Secretary Hegseth, sir, a memo circulating on social media details the establishment of a National Guard response force that's going to be trained in crowd control and civil unrest and deployed in all 50 states by April of 2026. Can you verify the authenticity of that memo? And do you have any more information on the operations?
What's going on?
I'm not going to answer particulars on something that may be in the planning process, but we definitely do have multiple layers of National Guard response forces, whether it's in each state, whether it's regionally, whether it's Title 10 active duty, whether it's Washington, D.C. We've got a lot of different ways that constitutionally and legally we can deploy Title 10 and Title 32 forces, and we will do so when necessary.
UN.
Are you concerned that Trump might be elected again?
Sure. I think it's very likely.
Be taken apart.
And if it happens, it is likely to be the kind of like the death blow
doing shit
to what remains of the
world
order.
And UN, what's UN doing?
It says it openly.
The blood of
it should be clear that many of these politicians they present
Fuck UN.
a false
Fuck UN.
dichotomy,
They didn't do
a false
shit.
binary
Look at all
vision
the
of the
craziness
world,
that's going on
as
around
if
the
you
world
have
and
to
what UN is
choose
doing. In New
between
York, eating shit,
patriotism
eating
and
all fancy
globalism,
dinners,
between
living
being
in their
loyal to your
penthouses,
nation
and not
and
doing
being
that
loyal
shit for
to
anybody in this
some
world.
kind of, I don't know, global government.
What they know how to do
This
best
is
is
the new
sell the
reality.
American weapons
If
behind
Trump
our backs.
wants Venezuela's oil, he will take it. If Trump wants
Especially
Greenland,
to
he will
our
take it. Some
nemesis.
leaders have criticized this new equation, like French President Emmanuel Macron.
We are evolving into
Guy's
a
a
world of
fucking
great
idiot.
powers with a real temptation to divide the
Go back to
world
his
amongst
fucking
themselves.
husband and
The
chill
United
out.
States is an established power, but one that is gradually turning away from some of its allies and freeing itself from the
Yeah,
international
France, I say
rules
your
it
fucking
was still
husband. What are you gonna do?
promoting
Come
until
and get me?
recently.
Come and get me, bitch. I'm waiting.
So what's the way forward? Macron wants us to reinvest in multilateralism. He wants us to double down on the United Nations. I don't think Macron will find many takers. The UN stock is at its lowest in
That shit is
decades.
serial law.
They couldn't stop the war in Ukraine. They could not
shit.
stop Israel's war in Gaza. They could not stop the US attack on Venezuela. And they certainly cannot do anything about Greenland, the United Nations. Do you know why?
United Nations
Because
haven't
the
done
UN
shit.
was built on two
Them motherfuckers
assumptions.
don't do
One,
nothing but
that
get
world
paid
powers would
and
act
eat.
responsibly. And two, that
and leave on to
globalization
the
would
United
unite
States
the world.
for every fucking
Both
taxpayer
assumptions
dollar
were
that
wrong.
they can get.
We are seeing the world
this
fracture
motherfucker.
into many pieces. The US is one piece. Europe used to be part of that same piece, but
We should
Washington
kick
kicked them
everybody out of the UN.
China is one piece.
UN out of the
Russia and
United
Iran
States.
are aligned to that piece. Middle
Who built
powers
that
like
fucking
India
building?
are a different piece. And all of them are
Fucking
floating
building
around with
decrepit
different
anyways.
interests.
They don't even fucking take care
This
of
is
their
not a
own
new
building.
order.
And Trump went and
It's a
visited.
churn
The
before the
escalator
new
wasn't
order.
working.
And frankly, it
Nothing
was
was
inevitable.
motherfucking working. The
In recent
microphones
years, the
weren't
US has
working.
been a
And yet,
declining power. Meanwhile, Asian
control-
countries
they
surged
were
ahead.
supposed to, like,
They had a
control
younger
roads,
population and more
national law or
resources.
something.
And the
They
result was
check
this.
shit.
Many countries began challenging America, whether that's Russia invading Ukraine or China militarizing the Indo-Pacific or the BRICS
hot
moving away
tonight.
from the US dollar.
Right now,
All
I
of this
am
was a
hot.
direct attack on the US-led world order. But then came Donald Trump, sort of like a final flare from a dying star. Trump is trying to reassert US dominance. That is why he captured Maduro, and that is why he wants Greenland. But how much further can he go? Can he truly revive the US-led order? The answer is no, because the other pieces won't allow it. Consider trade and the dollar.
Yeah, because it's the Democratic
Russia settles
side.
95% of its trade with
Chinese
India
are
and China in local
sabotaging us
currencies,
here in the United
not the
States,
US dollar.
especially with these stupid protests
China
that are going on.
settles
And the Chinese is
33%
funding.
of its total trade in local currency. Why would they go back to the US dollar? Also, this project is not
Soros,
slowing
the
down. It
Chinese,
is gathering
all
pace.
motherfuckers
For
are
example,
sleeping in the
the
same
BRICS
bed.
group.
Especially Tim
This group
Watts.
is
He
expanding.
supplies the fucking
It began
tampons
with
for
4
everyone.
members in the year 2009. Today, it has 11 members, meaning more and more countries are joining this project. They want to reduce their dependence on the United States. The question is, will this lead to a clash? President Macron addressed this too. He said BRICS should not be anti-US or anti-G7. At the same time, he said the G7 should not be anti-China or anti-BRICS. But how do you ensure that?
Shut the fuck up. And
Macron
go back to this
suggested India
husband
could be a
talking about that
bridge.
shit.
We should fight against the
Go
fragmentation
play
of the
with
world.
your
G7
chick
should
balls.
not be an
How about
anti-China
that?
club or
Go
an
play with your
anti-BRICS
chick's
group.
balls.
BRICS can't be an anti-G7
Probably has a
group.
bigger dick than he
India
does.
can create
That's
bridges
why
in
she
order to build
bitch slapped him in
cooperation.
the airplane and treated him like a little bitch.
Macron is making a
He
key
looked like a little
assumption here
bitch
that
when he was
this new
caught.
order is settled. You'll have the Western G7 on one side, you'll have the China-dominated BRICS on the other, and also floating powers like India. But this is a very far-fetched assumption. For starters, Europe and the US are growing apart. If the US attacks Greenland, it's hard to see that relationship survive. Plus, if the Ukraine war ends, Russia and the US will patch up. So the Western equations can still change. Same in Asia. If China attacks Taiwan, will Trump step in? And if he does not, why would Japan or South Korea trust him? So like I said, this is not a new order. This is the churn before a new order, and Trump did not trigger this churn. He's just making it more violent and more brazen. But what should countries like India do? Simply put, strengthen yourself. Do not depend on America for exports. Do not depend on China for rare earths. Do not depend on Russia for weapons. In this chaotic world, you can only depend on yourself. So the focus must be on national development. Strengthen the economy. Strengthen the military. Invest in technology and science. I'm not saying shut yourself off from the world. I'm saying be prepared for anything. We cannot see what's on the other side of this churn. Maybe it's a stable multilateral order. Maybe it's a new Cold War. The fact is we don't know. And when you face the unknown, you cannot leave anything to chance.
Oh, no shit, Sherlock. What the fuck? It took you how many years to fucking figure that shit out? Damn, it's about time. Listen, it's not good. I see something big happening, and we're here as witnesses. That's why I always been telling you guys, I know I have a lot of new people on the show and so forth, but my older ones like Albie and others that do come through, like Chloe and so forth. The 1%, when you can't pin the 1%. You know what I mean? The ones that are really in control of everything, they're not gonna have this uprising and people, try and think that they're in charge. That's why Trump's life is in danger every single day, because he's going against the grain. And when you go against the grain, there's a lot of people that are going to be very upset and ticked off, like the Democrats, as he's been seeing lately, with all these little protests and no kings, no kings. What the fuck that means, no kings? You sound stupid. Like, when has the United States ever had a king? All right, Democrats. Then why the fuck are you protesting no kings? You want to do that shit? Take your happy ass, buy yourself a one-way ticket, and go to the Middle East and go to them, and you'll see how fast your ass will go right to jail. Talking all that shit. Go in their streets and do that. Go and protest. Do the same shit you're doing here in the United States. Go do that in Dubai. Go do that in Saudi Arabia. Let's see how far that's gonna take you. You guys are lucky that we're in the land of the free, home of the brave, right? But we got a lot of motherfucking stupid motherfuckers. And they don't let up. They don't let up. These Karens, they got like the super Karens. They're like, super Karens to the front. And they like transform to like super Karens. And it's like a big fucking K in their fucking shirt, like the Superman. But for them, they got a K. They got a big fucking K that says Super Karen. Oh my God. And this is every day. It's like the world goes to sleep and wakes up and it never changes. It's always the same shit. So it's like, I follow so much the media and I watch the media very hard, but yet, my God, I never seen anything like positive. Everything is so motherfucking negative. And negative is so dominating. It's dominating everything. Like, I'm telling you, I know there's something in 3-Eye Atlas. I know they stopped talking about it. Have you noticed? They stopped talking about 3-Eye Atlas, the biggest thing in humanity and mankind, the biggest event. Like, look, the biggest fucking event. Radio silence. Crickets. We ain't gonna talk about that. That's not important. We gotta talk about bullshit. People running over fucking police officers. People shooting at police officers. Like, what the fuck is going on with society? Like, why are their brains so brainwashed? Is this brainwashing people to the max? Is this little device is what's causing all this chaos? Because the world wasn't like this before cell phones. Before the internet, it wasn't like this. I know. I lived it. But ever since we got these devices and we had the internet, the world has gone to like shits. And it's going to get worse because remember, without this device, back then, we started 2 world wars. World War I and World War II. Without this. So imagine with this, what World War III is going to be. This is just be ready. That's all I say, people. Be ready. Be ready. I am a psychic medium. I started this show, my channel, doing psychic readings, doing card readings, doing tarot readings. I just got into the news and all this stuff because the fuckers that were here before, they're not here. So they're off and they're doing their thing. And that's great. And I want them to go out there and do their thing, you know? But, once in a while, you should come back and acknowledge me. But I'm not Roman Reigns, but it's okay. But I see dark days, man. I see dark days. I see a lot of people sick, a lot of people dying, like just out of nowhere. Like thousands upon thousands of people are just gonna drop dead. And it's things that is out of our hands. It's things that they're doing to us. And it's not really how they say the germs. No. It's the frequencies. It's the frequencies. And they're not talking about that. They're not talking about anything about those frequencies that are going on. Those little buzzing sounds you hear in your head. It's not just because you're hearing buzzing things like I do. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, I hear this constant sounds in my head all day, every day. Ever since I had my concussion and I had my accident, pretty much broke my neck, fucked up my spine. It's been fucking crazy inside the head, with all these weird sounds and different pitches of sounds. And that, if you don't believe that the internet can get into your mind and get to your head and manipulate your head, you don't think that can happen? But you can believe that you can watch anything on this device. Anything and everything you can watch on this device. You don't think they can get into this device? Okay. Like I said, I got plenty of bridges here in Connecticut I could sell you. And I give it to you a good price. All right, let's continue on with damn, Rick's on fire tonight. Yeah, Rick's found out a lot today. And it's pretty chaotic. Health-wise, yeah, I had some x-rays done this morning. It was pretty painful in the positions that they had to put me in. But I have a feeling that they're going to send me for MRI in these areas, well, my hip and my knee. And I think I'm going to get bad news, especially when it comes to both areas, but I think more is going to be my knee. My left knee it's starting to give out, and I'm having problems with it. I don't know if it's the meniscus. It's not the ACL. I'm not a fucking Patrick Mahomes case, no, but I think it's the meniscus. I had right knee surgery before, and I tore my ACL and meniscus, so I know because I fucking went through it, and I had this knee, my right knee reconstructed. I had it reconstructed, so I'm kind of bionic, But now the left knee needs to work, and it's like, when your tires go bald, and you're like, fuck, I gotta go get those tires changed. Eventually, I have to go do it because I'm not gonna survive this winter if I don't fucking do it. So that's what's going on in my fucking knee. It has gone bald and it needs some work and some changing in there. So I have a feeling I'm maybe going to have surgery this year, which I get to go back to the upside down. So that's great. Maybe this is the upside down. Maybe I'll go to the upside, like right side up. That'll be even better. I would love to see the opposite of all this chaos that's going on here. Holy shit. But yeah, so I'll get the results tomorrow from the x-rays. I already know they're going to send me to, because I feel it. I feel the energy. So I know they're going to send me to get the MRI in my knee and in my left hip. And then we're going to go from there. And then out of the two, I think they're going to attack the knee. I think they're going to go for the knee. The hip hasn't been, it bothers, but not as much. But the knee has been, it's like I'm on my last leg. I'm on my last, thread of the tire. I don't want that shit to blow and then I can't walk because I'm gonna be fucked. So, and I don't want to be with a little scooter shit trying to like drive around with that shit. I don't think so. Because my knee fucking hurts. I'm not gonna fucking work like, especially on a wheelchair. Imagine being on a wheelchair. I've been on a wheelchair for a year. I know how it is. It's not fun, especially if you have to use your upper body a lot because of my fucking neck. So I hope I don't have to get back on a fucking wheelchair again. That will fucking suck. That will really fucking suck. I'll be a little mad. But if I have to do it, I have to do it. You know what I mean? But I'll still be upset. I'll be on the fucking show with my fucking wheelchair here. I'll be like, fuck yeah, motherfuckers. We're still doing this shit. I'll will my ass to this show, and then hopefully willingly people will come and show up. So, but it's not needed because I have a lot of people that rewatch, and I want to say thank you to those who watch the show. You guys are truly awesome. I appreciate it. And if you guys watch the Pokemon openings that I do for my shorts, thank you for watching and thank you for subscribing because the subscription count, jumped a good amount since I started doing those Pokemon shorts. And I'm going to be going through a little bit more of the Platassel Flames Mega Evolutions. Once I get through some of these packs that I have here, I'm going to start opening Destined Rivals. And then I got enough to cover a month for Destined Rivals because I do only one pack a day, one short a day. Look out for it. It's very cool. It's a ASMR where I ain't motherfucking talking. I want you to guys focus on the cards and hope that I fucking pull something great because everything that I'm doing right here, I'm not doing it for me. Yes, I'm doing it for me a little bit, which is the excitement of opening the pack and getting something nice. It is very exciting and it's very cool. But the cards really is not for me because I'm going to hold on to them for as long as I can. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to like sell them and the money I want to help my niece. I want to help her. I want to see if I could hold on and then sell, and then eventually I could buy her a car, when she graduates high school, like when she goes to her graduation and when she comes out of the graduation, I want her to see the nice big bow on the motherfucking car. And I want to see her face. Like, I want to see that jaw drop. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm really doing it for. I really want to pull out the chase cards because they are pretty expensive. And I have pulled out some good cards. I need to send some for grading. I've never done that before. And let me tell you something, it gives me anxiety. It truly gives me anxiety to part ways with a collection of mine and hope and pray that I get it back. Because I have like really nice comic books that are signed from back in the 90s. And like early 90s, we're talking about like 90, 91, 92, 93. Great year for sports, great year for comics. Like, it's just I have like a little separation anxiety. And I'm putting my faith into a system and hoping that the system returns it back and gives me a good grade. But other than that, we're going to continue on with what we're doing here with the news. So let me set this up and let's keep moving forward because we got a good night tonight. And I hope you guys are having a good night because why not? All right, here we go.
We are back here for you on live now from Fox. I'm your host, Mike Page. Always great to be with you as we continue to roll on. A live look right now at the White House on this Wednesday evening. And President Trump did make news about an hour and a half ago when he was asked about the situation in Iran. Now, about 24 hours ago, it seemed like he was getting closer for maybe the U.S. To strike Iran. But now it's seems a little bit more uncertain, and it looks like maybe not. President Trump being asked about that today. The quick soundbite.
been notified and pretty strongly, but we'll find out what that all means. But we've been told that the killing in Iran is stopping, and it's stopped, and it's stopping. And there's no plan for executions or an execution or executions. So I've been told that on good authority. We'll find out about it. I'm sure if it happens, we'll all be very upset, including you will be very upset, but that's just gotten to me from information that the killing has stopped, that the executions have stopped. They're not going to have an execution, which a lot of people were talking about for the last couple of days. Today was going to be the day of execution.
All right, so that was the moment just about 90 minutes ago from the Oval Office at the White House. I want to continue to talk about this, what this could mean, and really the next 24 to 48 hours to look at. So let's bring in our next guest to help break it all down. This is Blaise Mistal, Vice President for Policy at GINSA. Thanks so much for being here, Blaise. And what did you make of the remarks there when he says that he heard reports that the killings have stopped in Iran?
Evening. It's good to be with you. That is news to me, and certainly the president has access
I don't believe
to all
it
sorts
stopped.
of information and sources that those of us outside of government do not.
I don't believe it
But certainly,
stopped.
according to everything that we're seeing on social
It's
media
just
and reports coming out of Iran,
I can feel them dying.
protests and clashes and
It's
killings
just
continue.
they're not going to just stop.
There was,
Oh
in
yeah,
fact,
we're all
an
stopped.
execution of a
Freeze!
protester
Everyone,
earlier
don't do
today.
anything. Don't kill each
And
other.
at least some of the
Okay,
unofficial tallies
bullshit.
are going up quite dramatically.
This is called
I'm now hearing that up to
diversion.
20,000
Like
protesters
this is
were
like they're
killed over
diverting
the weekend.
and trying to play
So
it down,
if the
but in
killing has stopped,
reality,
that would be
the United
great.
States is building up.
There doesn't seem to be any indication that
They're
is
getting ready for
happening.
something big.
Which really asks the question of why President Trump would say that. Perhaps it is giving the Iranians an off-ramp, a chance to, in fact, try to and stop the violence. Perhaps it is misdirection. We know that President Trump likes to be cagey. He likes to surprise people. And we're actually seeing reports that there's been a big movement of U.S. aircraft
I'm telling you,
around
I
the Middle
know this
East
game.
that could connote a
I
strike.
know this
So maybe
game.
it really means that
Reflection,
he's trying to take a
misdirection.
step back away from having to take action as he seems to
Iran
have
is
promised in the
they
past couple
know.
of days.
Yeah, Blaise, I think a lot of people
They know
were
it's coming.
caught
The
off
heat is
guard
coming.
from that statement because it was really this red line that President Trump created, talking about if the killings continue, if there are killings,
All right,
that
let me
there
check
would
on the
be
chat
action
here.
that the U.S. would be sending help. Now it seems much
Maybe all the
different.
Somali's can use those.
Yeah, and I think that's
tampons.
exactly the right word to
It's
use.
distributing.
Red line. Did draw a
Ah,
very clear red
no,
line
no.
and said
Yo, he'll
if
send them a year's
protesters
supply
were
of
killed,
fucking tampons
the
for
U.S.
sure.
would send help, that the U.S. was locked and loaded, that the
I hate
regime would
being
have
in
to
a
pay a
wheelchair.
price.
I'm telling you, Terry
And whether
sucks
or
being in a
not there's
fucking
killing that
wheelchair.
is happening now,
No
it is
Pokemon
very
at the
clear
store
that
this week.
Iran
It's
killed
okay, but I
protesters
will keep
in
an
the
eye out
aftermath of President Trump
more. Okay, thank
drawing
you.
that red line.
I'll look next week.
And I think
Yeah.
that's why it's incredibly
Yeah, it's not
important for
a
the
rush,
United
but whenever
States
you do,
not to
just,
back
you know,
down
let me
now.
know.
Once it has drawn
I
a
don't
red
mind taking a trip
line,
up there.
it needs
I had
to
a great
enforce
time the
it.
last time I went up
We
there,
saw
and
in
we
2013
had a
what
great
happened when President Obama
great
drew
pizza.
a red line
We had
and
a great
said if the
meal.
Syrian government
We had a
used
good time.
chemical weapons against its people, the U.S. would do something about it. He then backed down. He chickened out. He
Well,
didn't
fucking
do
being in
it.
a wheelchair
And what
sucks.
happened? The Syrian regime
So
kept
fucking
on using
uncomfortable.
chemical weapons. It killed 500,000
I
of
was
its
in it
own
for a
people,
year.
and we had a civil war that dragged on for 10 years. But worse,
The
it
whole
emboldened
2013, I was in a wheelchair,
jihadists and the
but I was
Iranians
in the
to attack
hospital.
the United States because
I
it saw
couldn't get
us
out of
as
the hospital. I
weak.
was in the hospital for a
And I
whole
think
year.
we have a similar
I've
situation
spoken
now
so
where we
much about that in
risk
my show.
looking weak and wavering if President Trump does not carry out the threat that he made last week.
And Blaise, when and if ever will we
But
know
thank you.
the
I
true
appreciate
number
that,
of
Terry,
how many protesters may have
because
been
it's
killed
not for me.
in
It's, the
Iran?
reality is for my
There's
niece.
so many
I'm
different
gonna master
ranges
set
out
it and give
there
it to
from
her.
different media reportings, but will there ever be a true understanding of just
Especially
how many were
if I do
killed?
it now, and she's
I
only
think
4
it's
years
going to
old
be
right
highly
now.
unlikely that we see one at least
So we're talking about
anytime
like
soon. For that to happen, you would
13
first
more years,
actually have to
14
see
years.
this regime fall, a restoration
I have a
of
master set, and then
internet
I can sell it
access,
14 years from
and
now,
access to
it's
the
gonna worth
country
something.
of the sort of forensic teams that are now going into Syria
Trust me,
to
I
try
got
to unearth
collectibles.
the
I know.
atrocities that happened there.
I got a lot of
So
comic
I think,
books.
you
A
know, we'll
lot.
have
I need to start selling.
estimates, we'll
You
have
know,
approximate numbers, but
I
actually
want to hold on
figuring
to them.
out what
Yeah, you
happened
see,
is
hold on
probably
to
going to
them.
take a long time indeed.
Trust me, and I have them in containers and
And
everything.
lastly,
Like
Blaze, there's
they're
been
protected.
a lot of talk where President
You
Trump
know,
may have been pulling back just a little bit on
but they're not
Iran,
for me.
but
You know, 'cause
talk about
my
the
time
option
is
for
now, but my time
misdirection
is almost
that he
up.
might be throwing at you. You talked about it a
And
little bit
the
earlier in
youngling,
this
which is
interview,
my
but
niece,
just talk
she's
about
4
the
years old.
possibility of
So
how
I want to look after
misdirection
her.
could look like.
I want to be that uncle
Yeah,
that like,
so we
holy
know
shit, my
that
fucking
President
uncle
Trump
bought me a
likes to
car
keep
for
his
fucking
opponents
graduation.
guessing.
Like,
He
holy
likes
shit.
to be surprising.
You know
He
what I
likes
mean?
to be
Like,
unpredictable.
she's gonna be the fucking cool girl.
And if we try to square on the
But I
one
want her to
hand
be
what
the
he said,
smart girl.
seemed
I
to be
want her to
walking
be
back
classy,
possibility of U.S.
a little
action,
sassy,
and on the other hand, some
but I
of
want
the
her to
things that we're
be
seeing in the
intelligent. You
Middle
know, I want her
East
to
that includes the
worry,
U.S. moving
especially when it
aircraft
comes to
out of
finances.
Al Udeid Air Base
You
in
know what I
Qatar
mean?
because of its vulnerability to Iranian attack. We've seen the closing of Iranian airspace. We're seeing all sorts of commercial and other aircraft depart Iranian airspace.
Hey,
We've
Kayla!
heard reports of
What's up?
military
Oh, I know
aircraft
Kayla
flying
fucking
over
hates to be on a
Iraq.
fucking wheelchair.
The UK ambassador and other diplomatic
I know
staff have
she's
left
laughing.
Tehran. All of that at least indicates preparations
Kayla,
for a
you made me
potential
cough my
strike.
medicine.
So certainly it seems that the U.S. was discussing it, and
Oh my
perhaps
god, that
President
was
Trump
funny.
is just trying to make sure that Iran does not see it coming.
Fucking hate it,
I
man.
certainly hope that is the
It's the
case,
worst.
but as always, we'll have to watch and find out.
Yeah, we really, really will, and we'll continue to do that. Blaze, thanks so much for joining us on Live Now from Fox. Always great to speak with you, and we'll continue to wait and see what happens next. We appreciate it.
All right, let's bring it back to me. And they're not killing anybody. Bullshit. Let me tell you, they are. They're doing it. Oh, the train of truth is here. The train of truth is here. They're killing them. They're just not doing it in the streets. They do it in the basements. They do it in attics. They do it inside homes. They do it inside dungeons. Like, yeah. You're gonna tell me I could feel them dying. They're dying like right now. There's like hundreds of them that are dying. So you can't tell me that, oh yeah, magically they stopped. They just stopped killing. Yay. Okay, if they stop killing, tell me why. Why? Let me see here. Let me see if I can set this up here. Give me 1 sec. All right, here we go. So tell me why this is happening. If there's no killings, okay? No killings. No killings. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Okay. Yeah, like I was really closing my eyes, right? All right, watch this.
The killing in Iran is stopping, and it's stopped. And it's stopping.
Bullshit.
And
That's-
there's no
that's-
plan for
that's not true.
executions or executions. So I've been told that on good authority. We'll find out about it. I'm sure if it happens, we'll all be very upset, including you will be very upset.
And moments ago, Iran closed its airspace without explanation, at least temporarily. Here to discuss this,
You see, they closed their airspace.
Tom Cotton. Senator, 3 hours ago, we
Right.
were hearing that America
Trump is not a
could
good
be
liar.
planning military strikes against Iran.
I'm
However,
good.
the
I'm here
president
doing
came
a
out
show.
and
How you doing,
made those
Kayla?
kind of cryptic comments about the killing stopping. Then Iran closes its airspace, and we're moving personnel out of our military bases in the region. What the heck's going on?
Well, Laura, what I would recommend is the violence against its own people, the massacre of innocent civilians. Now
You know why they close the airbase? They don't want nobody to
President
escape.
Trump has
They
made
don't
it
want
clear
people
he's
to
not gonna
leave the
tolerate
country.
this kind of wanton violence against the people who are
They know
simply
something's
yearning for
coming.
freedom after 47 years
feel it.
of oppression by the Ayatollahs, which are also spreading revolutionary revolutionary violence and terror around the world, with the blood of hundreds of Americans on their hands. I think President Trump this afternoon was specifically referring to public executions that were that at peer time had not gone forward to find out, as he said. But he's been very clear in his demands that the Ayatollahs stop the wanton violence against their own people.
Senator Cotton, you get confidential, top secret briefings in your position in the Senate.
Yeah, they showed
the
it the
American
other
people
day.
are privy to what the administration does know about what's happening there. But
I have another
as
story about
usual,
that.
I think people are concerned.
Coming up.
They're concerned that we could be edging toward war. They're concerned
That'll
that
be next.
helping Iran, in a noble pursuit indeed, how does that help the average American who's still struggling to pay some bills? And you see it online, and these are MAGA diehards who have some concerns, not overly freaking out, but some concerns here.
Yeah, Laura, and I can understand that. First, I'd point to what you might call the President Trump way of war. If you look at the most consequential, bold, and audacious actions he's taken, the killing of the ISIS leader in Syria, the killing of Iran's terrorist mastermind in Iraq, the strikes against Iran's nuclear programs last year, and the masterful apprehension of Nicolas Maduro just a couple weeks ago. These look nothing like the Iraq or Afghanistan war. They were not commitments of tens of thousands of troops on open-ended missions. These were direct, bold strikes that advance clear national security priorities. And of course, Iran has been terrorizing the United States and the civilized world for 47 years. As I said, they've got the blood of hundreds of Americans on their hands. And unless there's a fundamental change in the behavior of the Ayatollahs, the only way Iran will stop being this source of instability, disorder, chaos, and violence is for the Iranian people to take their future in their hands, again, yearning for freedom for 47 years. It would certainly be better for us and all of our friends if Iran was not exporting revolutionary violence and terror every day.
Senator, the added benefit of cleaving China away from Iran, that can't be understated either, if indeed there's new leadership there. Senator, we'll be watching this closely. Thank you so much, sir.
Hey, Sean Hannity here.
All right, let's keep it moving.
Breaking news, some military personnel stationed at bases in the Middle East have been told to leave. That confirmed to Fox
Why
News
are they
by a US
leaving?
official.
Wait a
President
minute,
Trump,
there's no
as we know,
killings.
is
What happened
weighing
to the
his
killings?
response to Iran's deadly crackdown on protesters,
Come
killing
on
his
now.
own citizens with military weaponry. A new bombshell report revealing the staggering scope of the violence. It says Iran has murdered between 12,000 and 20,000 people since the beginning of the citizen revolt.
Holy shit,
about
that's a
2
lot of
weeks
people.
ago.
20,000?
An official count from a
That's
U.S.-based
probably more
human
than the
rights
city I
group
live in.
puts the count closer to 2,600, but still
That's
staggering.
crazy.
That's a big gap. That's why
Yeah.
you need that news from on the ground. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus.
Come
The
on,
Islamic
Faulkner,
regime
throw it
in
at us.
Iran has also cut off public internet access. They did that days ago.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
know, I
trying
said
to
that.
stop the world from seeing in now the gruesome human rights crimes. But it's also keeping people from crying for help to people around the world. A limited number of videos that we can even get access to now. But they show the
Wow.
scale of the mass demonstrations. Thousands of people taking to the streets for their freedom. Elon Musk's Starlink, always in play, it seems. This time, reportedly stepping in to help free internet access for protesters. Iranian authorities are reportedly hunting down those using that free service. And President Trump has weighed in with a powerful post. Take a look. Iranian patriots keep protesting. Take over your institutions. Save the names of the killers and abusers.
Okay,
They will pay
how
a
he
big
goes from
price.
this
I
to
have
like
canceled all meetings with
talking
Iranian
the way he
officials
was
until the
talking.
senseless
You know what I
killing of
mean?
Protester stops. Help is on its way.
This is
He
all
also laid
games.
out a red line
This is mind
in an
games.
interview that aired last night.
mind games.
When they start killing thousands of people, and now you're telling me about hanging, we'll see how that works out for them. It's not going to work out good. We will take very strong action. If they do such a thing, we will take very strong action.
So all eyes now focused on this region, of course. We await President Trump's decision on next steps. When he says help is on its way, what is that? And what are the steps against Iran's mullahs? Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yinks on the story from Tel Aviv. Trey.
Harris, good morning. Human rights organizations say more than 25 people have been confirmed killed in Iran over the past 2 weeks amid a brutal government crackdown. We know that smaller demonstrations are still unfolding, the government trying to rein those in, and there are renewed calls from protesters for international support. Fox News spoke with a student demonstrator who just left Iran on a commercial flight. We've blurred his face and altered his voice to protect his identity.
And I would say that the Iranian peoples are deeply hoping for the President Trump's administration to intervene, whether it's through cybersecurity attacks or like
there's totally
military operation. So people are waiting for the promised help of President Trump. I mean, that was a call from the beginning of the protest, right?
That protester telling Fox News he was shot at. These stories of brutality are not unique. And today there are concerns that Iran will begin to execute some of the demonstrators who were arrested over the past 2 weeks. Overnight, President Trump warned of a very strong action against the Iranian regime if executions take place. The entire region bracing for such action that could lead to a military escalation.
We know that any escalation of the sort that you described would have catastrophic results in the region and beyond, and therefore we want to avoid that as much as possible. The talks continue, our calls continue.
There are growing signs of possible military action in the region. Reports indicate that the Al Udeid base in Qatar has evacuated non-essential personnel. Harris.
All right, and the calls from the administration, of course, for certain military personnel around the Middle East to leave that area. We don't have any indications from what you're learning yet what that tells us.
No, we don't. I've reached out to a number of American officials, and it appears at this point this is a precaution to ensure that U.S. forces are not unnecessarily in harm's way. But remember, there are a number of bases across the region, and the Iranians have threatened to target those bases if a military conflict develops.
Trey, thank you very much. In focus now, Brett Velikovich, former Army Special Operations Intel analyst, drone expert, and Fox News contributor. Brett, I'm glad you're with me now. So that last question that I asked about speaks to the issue that we've had so many of our military personnel targeted just in the last few years. The number ticked up quite a bit. And so I want to first speak to that issue because they are our tip of the spear in that region.
Right. Well, Harris, I mean, let me just say the numbers coming out of Iran are staggering. They're morally
I don't mind because I can do the PayPal one.
Are dying.
They have PayPal because you have the PayPal.
12,000 killed is
I
accurate.
thought that you
This
have
is no longer a
the
protest
payments on the
crackdown.
PayPal.
This is a massacre. This is
I
a
think that
mass
will work.
slaughter carried out by a regime that has completely forfeited any claim to
Yeah,
legitimacy.
my
This
foot
is Tiananmen Square on steroids, and it's happening in real time. And our soldiers in the region will be affected by this in the long run. I mean, right now, though, the Iranian people deserve our support more than ever. When a government has to beat, jail, murder, silence its own citizens just to stay in power, it's already lost its legitimacy. There's no going back at this point. But here's the key point. The Iranian people aren't chanting death to America. They're chanting against their own rulers. They're telling the world they want freedom, not clerics with guns, and that matters. And even when kids are willing to face bullets for freedom, the moral line is clear. We need to help them. The United States, the beacon of freedom in the world, we should never sit back and be neutral
where's the
between
UN?
a totalitarian regime and
Wait a minute.
civilians who are being executed in mass
This is
for
where the
demanding
UN
basic
needs to
rights. We
step
can't be
in. Where's the UN?
silent in these moments, pretend it's restraint. I simply not doing anything
UN
right
is
now
nowhere to
is
be
like
found.
being complicit. So we need to
They're actually out
ratchet up
having
this
dinner
pressure.
right now.
We need to help them before it's too late, because history tells us moments like this don't last forever. And frankly, what the administration does here, the approach matters. We need to put pressure. It needs to be applied where it counts. Trump has real strength in this region. He's highly respected out there where past presidents weren't. And we need to send a warning that we are with these protesters and help them in any way that we can.
So what is the message that the mullahs are dealing with right now when the president of the United States, who's already taken out that mountain that had a big chunk of their nuclear program in it, and that was a stealth operation they didn't see coming from two different directions. So they know who they're dealing with. What is the message to them right now with the channel cut off with our president until they stop killing their own people?
Well, they need to be really nervous. I mean, the fact is peace in that region, it doesn't simply come from pretending bad actors are going to all of a sudden behave. The mullahs should, be warned right now that something is going to happen. We need to go after them, give them consequences economically, militarily. Deterrence matters here. When the White House says all options are on the table, including military options, by the way, that's not warmongering, it's leverage. Right? We got to help the protesters, and that doesn't mean rushing into war. We need to give them breathing room. The Iranian people are telling us they want freedom, and so strength from our administration will prevent war. Weakness, frankly, invites it. The Iranian mullahs, they like to escalate when they see this weakness, and we're not going to just deter Iran from press conferences. You got to remember, their nuclear program, frankly, when we went after them before, they didn't slow it down because of polite requests. It was slowed down because President Trump, this administration acted if red lines are crossed. It was stopped by force. That credibility protects American troops. It protects Israel, protects global energy markets. Weakness invites chaos, strength prevents it. And so we need to do something. And by acting forcibly here, the administration is not pushing us towards war. It's doing the opposite. It's restoring deterrence, and it's making conflict less likely.
Look, this has been a voice that has popped up a few times here recently, and I want to bring it into our conversation now. Former United Nations Ambassador Nikki Haley posting this. At least 12,000 Iranians fighting for freedom have been murdered by the regime, possibly thousands more. The silence from those who claim to care about human rights is truly deafening. Fox interviewed an Iranian-American protester this week. He is one of many calling out the left for their silence after massive rallies and full-throated support for Palestinians in Gaza. Watch this.
I used to be a Democrat. I stood by you guys because you promised us liberty, justice, diversity. This is not diversity. Your silence is complicit. Democrats, wake the damn up. This is not okay. Iranian people right now, they're in prison. They're in prison. They're in complete digital blackout. How can you be silent?
We could see a tip that no one saw coming. And this is political. We know the president of the United States is going to do exactly what you said. He's going to do what he knows is best in this situation. And he's not going to listen to all of the for comfort, political comfort Democrats on the other side who can't see straight on an issue because of the people in in their camp, far left. But my question comes to what happens if the left loses the street on this one? I mean, all those people that the left pretended to like and to want to help, they didn't send any food to the Palestinians, and they're not trying to help the Iranians now.
Paris, we already saw what happens when American leaders bet on the regime instead of the Iranian people. All right. That's what the left did before. No more pallets of cash, no more photo ops. It just leads to more bloodshed. And this is a defining moment. The Iranian regime is choosing executions over reform. They're choosing bullets over dialogue. And so as the United States, we need to be crystal clear. We stand with the Iranian people, not their executioners. And the administration, if we want leverage, frankly, I think we need a more aggressive approach. If we're going to go in and do something militarily, we should definitely focus on the revenue streams of this regime. We could focus on striking IRGC-controlled offshore export infrastructure, for instance. The regime survives off of this offshore oil cash flow. You disrupt that and everything changes. That's real deterrence. That's what helps the Iranian people. And that's what stops the mullahs and gets their money to dry up.
Real quickly, you mentioned oil, Venezuela in play here. A lot of people, bad actors around the world, were banking on that cheap oil, that heavy crude coming out of Venezuela. And who's got 30 to 50 million barrels now? Trump and the United States. Your last quick thought.
Well, I hope the Iranian leaders are seeing what we did in Venezuela, because that may be in the cards here if they don't shape up.
Wow, that would be a big operation, a big movement. But we've seen many of them already in this just nearly year-old presidency, second term. Brett Bilikovich, always great to have you on the program. Thank you.
Thanks, Harris.
All right, Emily Campagno. I caught you before you said your name. I got you this time, Emily Campagno. All right, let's keep it moving.
Social media post right now sharing more details of this threat. This is from the New York Post saying Iran issues a sickening assassination threat against Trump. Quote, this time it will not miss the target. And they also shared a photo of one of the assassination attempts against President Trump.
Okay, let me check it out.
Coming as protests continue to escalate
Oh,
in
my elbow
Iran.
hurts.
These are some file video of some of these protests in which reportedly, hundreds, if not thousands of people have been killed. Meantime, Iran's judiciary head has signaled earlier today there would be fast trials and executions ahead for suspects detained in these nationwide protests, despite warnings from President Trump that the U.S. may take military action over the killing of peaceful demonstrators. Those comments came as activists warn that hangings of those detained could come soon. The security force crackdown on the demonstrations has killed at least 2,500 people. That's according to the U.S.-based human rights activist news agency. The death toll exceeds that of any other round of protest or unrest in Iran in decades and recalls the chaos surrounding the country's 1979 Islamic Revolution. These demonstrations began on December 28th over the collapse of an Iranian currency as the country's economy is being squeezed by international sanctions levied in part over its nuclear program. This also comes as President Trump has consulted with his national security team about next steps with Iran as he looks to get a better understanding of the specific number of Iranian citizens who have been killed and arrested in more than 2 weeks of unrest throughout the country. So this is some video of just some of those protests that have continued to grow in Iran. President Trump said that he believes the killing is significant and that his administration would, quote, act accordingly.
They're going to stop
he also
killing.
added
That's
that he
bullshit.
believed the Iranian government
You know what I
was,
mean?
quote, badly
So I'm saying, oh, they stopped
misbehaving.
killing. Nobody's getting
But the
killed.
president said that he has yet
Come
to
on,
receive
man.
a confirmed
Don't
number of Iranians
don't
killed
get
in
played
these
like that.
protests that began late last
You
month.
know, he has people
saying that
telling
he has
him to
heard
say
5
this, you
different
know?
sets of numbers
That's
in
the shit,
that
you
death
know?
toll. So the
And I
tensions
feel that energy
continue
that
to
someone's telling him
escalate,
to say that.
and these comments come after President Trump earlier said that he was cutting off the prospects of talks with Iranian officials amid a protest crackdown, telling Iranian citizens, quote, help is on the way. Now, he didn't offer any details about exactly what this help would entail, but his remarks come just 2 days after he said Iran wants to negotiate with Washington after his threat to strike the Islamic Republic. And now the rhetoric continues to ramp up after Iran issues an assassination threat against President Trump, saying, quote, this time it will not miss the target. We, of course, are continuing to follow all of the breaking news stories and also a programming note as you're taking a live look at the White House coming up at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So in just about half an hour or so, President Trump will be holding a signing ceremony at the White House. This is open to the media, and one has to imagine that many questions will be asked as Iran has ramped up that rhetoric with an assassination threat.
Yeah, but it's not. Yeah, that's just weird. Let's keep it moving.
So at least 60 people are facing charges for interfering with federal law enforcement in the Twin Cities. And anti-ICE protests are showing no signs of letting up.
And now President Trump is sending a direct message to the father of the woman killed in last week's agent-involved shooting.
Matt Finn joins us now from Minneapolis with the latest. Hey, Matt.
Good morning, everyone. It's been 1 week since Renee Good was shot and killed here in Minneapolis. And since then, the federal government has surged hundreds more agents into the city. Agents used flashbangs last night to deter protesters outside of the federal facility that ICE is using as a detention center. Protesters taunt officers day and night at this location, even launching fireworks at them. And when it turns violent, federal officers use crowd control tactics and take people into custody. Now, clashes between anti-ICE activists and immigration agents, they're not cooling down in the Twin Cities. Yesterday, protesters surrounded federal officers as they were apparently taking people into custody. Minneapolis police tell Fox yesterday they have arrested 31 protesters within the city since demonstrations began.
They really just gonna get these this shit under control, because this is turning stupid with the whistle shit. Like, you know, they're being followed.
Now, we
So
caught up with
why
Border
is that
Patrol
continuing to
on
happen?
targeted enforcement. Now, all around the Twin Cities, you hear
You
these
know?
ear-piercing whistles. Activists blow the whistles when they see agents to alert the anti-ICE network.
There's all these ear-piercing whistles going on around us right now. What are these people?
Yeah, I'm
blowing
gonna
those
go through
whistles
that
for?
one, Terry.
You know,
The
it's
next
interesting you ask
episode, the
that,
next
Matt.
actually the next
Oftentimes these
video is gonna
individuals
talk
have
about
no
that.
reason, or they have no clue why we are in an area. We could arrest, again, a child molester or a child rapist or a murderer, illegal alien, and they don't seem to care. They don't agree with that for some odd reason.
Now, protesters are demonstrating against ICE, also against the shooting death of Renee Good. And in an interview, President Trump gave a message to Renee Good's father.
I want to say to the father that I love all of our people. They can be on the other side. As you say, he might be on my side. He is on your side. And I think that's great. And I do. I think it's great. And I would bet you that she, under normal circumstances, was a very solid, wonderful person. But then her actions were pretty tough. When I've seen it many ways and many different shapes and forms.
Now, yesterday here in Minneapolis, there were a number of sudden resignations inside the U.S. Attorney's office here, including Joe Thompson. He is the second man in
I'm gonna
charge
write
here.
to you
Governor Tim Walz
on Discord.
posting about Joe, quote, Joe is a principled public servant who spent more than a decade achieving justice for Minnesotans. This is a huge loss for our state. It's also the latest sign Trump is pushing nonpartisan career professionals out of the Justice Department, replacing them with his sycophants. Now, two federal sources tell us that in light of these resignations, the Trump administration is sending additional federal attorneys here into Minneapolis, and that those newer attorneys are going to be aligned with the Trump administration's agenda on immigration prosecutions here in the Twin Cities. Back to you guys in New York.
All right,
Thanks,
Matt.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe.
Okay, hold on. We gotta keep it moving.
Last week's
Here we go.
deadly Minneapolis
This is
shooting,
about
and I wanted to
the
share
internal
social
bleeding.
media post by Fox News saying that the ICE agent who was struck by Renee Good's vehicle suffered internal bleeding to his torso. That is according to a DHS official confirming that to Fox News. Meanwhile, I did want to take you live to a vigil that continues to grow there in Minneapolis. This is where that deadly ICE-involved shooting took place last week, and you can see the large vigil there continuing to grow. Some more information on the federal agent who fatally shot Renee Good in Minneapolis last week. According to a DHS official, that agent suffered internal bleeding to his torso when he was struck by her vehicle. Now, the extent of the bleeding to the ICE agent was not immediately clear. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem had previously said the agent was treated at the hospital before being released that same day. This health update comes after Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey previously downplayed the agent's injuries, telling reporters on Friday, quote, the ICE agent walked away with a hip injury that he might as well have gotten from closing a refrigerator door with his hips. Give me a break. No, he was not ran over. He walked out of there with a hop in his step, end quote. Federal officials have said that when Good pulled forward in her vehicle toward the ICE officer, he acted in self-defense and described the driver's action as, quote, an act of domestic terrorism. Democrats and some local residents, however, have condemned the shooting as a murder and have called for Ross's prosecution. So this is a live look here from the shooting scene in Minneapolis, as we do see folks continuing to gather, holding signs, and a growing memorial there for Renee Good. Now, we were mentioning that Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey has delivered remarks, and earlier today he did speak with Fox News. We wanted to play out his brief comments for you right now.
In hindsight, Mr. Mayor, was that the appropriate response?
I stand by exactly what I said, and to be clear, what I was responding to was an immediate conclusion that had been drawn by the federal government, where they said, one, the ICE agent was acting in self-defense, and then shortly thereafter saying that the victim was a domestic terrorist. We need to be doing everything possible right now to have a full and fair investigation, and my deep concern is when the conclusion is drawn by the government that's actually doing the investigation itself, it's much harder to trust the investigation. We need to make sure that the American people can earn and gain that trust. And yes, I think there's deep concerns with having exclusively the FBI and not our Bureau of Criminal Apprehension at the state level conducting the investigation itself. This is an entity that has police officers and law enforcement and attorneys, people that have deep experience in investigating cases involving an officer-involved shooting. And by the way, they've come to conclusions and investigated cases that have resulted in charges and a lack thereof. And so, you know, our pitch is, look, none of us should hide from the facts here. And if we're not hiding from them, then let's make sure it's a full and fair investigation.
Let me get you on record, if I can, Mr. Mayor. Do you support abolishing ICE?
I do not support abolishing ICE. However, I absolutely oppose the way that this administration is conducting themselves with us. Look, there are a number of entities presently, agencies
But
at the
isn't
federal
that what your
government,
lawsuit is about?
that are
Stopping ICE
conducting
right now?
themselves. No, you should read the lawsuit. The lawsuit says that, hey, you know, ICE doing ICE stuff is not what we're talking about right now. Again, we've had ICE in our city before. We've had ICE in our state before. It is the fact that, look, right now, there's about 3,000 federal ICE agents in our city between ICE and Border Control. You know how many police officers that we have? 600. The kind of duress that our city is experiencing because of this is magnified. Again, crime has been down. This is not helping. Chaos has been dramatically increased by the way that these ICE operations are taking place. And we are looking for ways to keep this city safe. I hope that people, especially viewing, can understand that we want to keep this city safe. This is not accomplishing it by any standard.
To the issue of fraud, you recently said fraud is real. There's convictions have been done, and you say that Governor Walz has taken measures. But you also said that, you know, more could have been done. Those were your comments on the Sunday show where you had an interview on Sunday. And my question to you is that sufficient to the Minnesota taxpayers for whom billions was stolen to just say more could have been done? Would you like to address the taxpayers and weigh in a little bit more on where this fraud investigation goes?
I would like to address it. More could have been done, more can be done. And I think it makes it really clear that this is not about clamping down on fraud, these ICE arrests we're seeing in our city, when the people that have been investigating the fraud just walked out of the U.S. Attorney's Office. The people that have been investigating and prosecuting this fraud in the Trump administration at the U.S. Attorney's Office said, you know what is happening isn't right. It's not fair. It's not, I mean, what is happening is not okay, and they all walked out. And so, again, this ain't about clamping down on fraud when the investigators themselves just left.
So those were some remarks by Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey as he was speaking on Fox News earlier today, addressing the ICE-involved shooting as well as the fraud investigation in Minnesota. This is a New York Post social media post saying the ICE agent who shot Renee Good suffered internal bleeding and was hospitalized after she clipped him with his car. That is according to DHS. Any new information, we, of course, will bring you that.
That's interesting. All right, let's keep it moving.
The city of Minneapolis has been in focus as protests break out after the deadly ICE-involved shooting last week. We've all seen this video of the moment it all played out. Let's watch.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you. Show your face.
I'm not mad.
We change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. U.S. citizen. Come at us. Go get yourself some big boy.
Okay, you. Look, she hit him. She hits him.
Bring in now Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey. Mr. Mayor, thank you for being here. In the immediate aftermath of that shooting, this was your response. Watch.
They are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense.
This guy's a fucking idiot.
Having seen the video of myself,
he knows Trump can't remove him as mayor.
That is bull.
That's the thing. He could talk all he wants, but he can't. He knows
to ICE.
The president is limited.
Out of Minneapolis.
You see, he can say, well,
in hindsight,
but he
Mr.
can be
Mayor,
censored.
was that the appropriate response?
I stand by exactly what I said, and to be clear, what
he's trying to play Clark Kent with that little curl on his head and his little
federal government, where they said
third eye area.
The ICE agent was acting in self-defense, and then shortly thereafter saying that the victim was a
that little curl is
domestic
bothering
terrorist.
me.
We need to be doing everything possible right now to have a full and fair investigation. And my deep concern is when the conclusion is drawn by the government that's actually doing the investigation itself.
Did he time me out? I didn't time you out.
Trust the investigation. We need to make sure that the American people can earn and gain that trust. And yes, I think there's deep concerns with having.
You can be timed out. You're a monitor.
Our Bureau of Criminal Apprehension at the state level conducting the investigation itself. This is an entity.
Did it time you out for real? Let me know.
Law enforcement and attorneys, people.
I'm just looking at the comment now. I was in another screen. I wasn't on the StreamYard.
And by the way, they've come to conclusions and investigated cases that have resulted in charges and the lack thereof. And
yeah, it's always been a federal case because the federal officer shot her
here and
killed her ass.
From them, then let's make sure it's a full and fair investigation.
Yeah, for sure.
That no one should be jumping.
This guy's a fucking liar. I know he is.
He's
a fucking dipshit. Yeah, dipshit for sure.
Facts can come to light.
And Peach is a dipshit too.
Well, I'm grateful that I'm not the one investigating this, nor is the city of Minneapolis. And when you have the secretary working the federal government saying immediately that this was an action of self-defense, when you have the federal government booting the state government from the process entirely, yeah, there's concerns associated with that. I mean, look, we've all seen the video. I don't need to pass judgments here on it. But what I do know, and this is the bottom line, is look, I may have disagreements with some people that are part of your audience, but I hope that people can trust that.
This guy's a freaking idiot. He's a gaslighter.
An extraordinary
gaslighter. I could feel his fumes.
Down in virtually every category, in virtually every.
Oh, I sent you a message, Chloe,
on
Discord.
This whole chaos that's taking place, yeah, it's setting us back. And so my ask is simple. Let us have that beautiful rebound.
One of your messages didn't go through. Oh, then they're censoring.
Small businesses opening, and right now
that's YouTube. I don't know. I didn't do that
because you've got people that are
you know me
to go into work. Schools
I would not do that.
Shut down. I mean, we've
that's
only
one thing
had
I would not
2
do.
shootings as of recent.
But which one was
the
it?
City this year, and one
I
of
might
them
be able to see it here.
Was the ICE situation that you just pointed out?
Would you agree, Mr. Mayor?
Which message was it? So, but you can't really tell me. Then it'll censor you again.
Not have to be doing the surge operations, but
was it the whatever happened to the first the America's First? That was a lie too, or he also had internal bleeding.
Turned out to be criminal illegal aliens, and now
they're going
after those individuals. We can show you just a litany of
just to see if StreamYard picked it up, because sometimes
criminal
Streamer would
aliens that have
pick it
been
up, but
apprehended over the past
YouTube
few
would
days
censor it.
that have included everyone
It's just some
from
weird shit.
murders
And I'll take a picture and send it to you.
sex assault of minors. These individuals
drove-
were roaming free in
drove
your
across
city
state
because your
lines
policies do
to
not
do exactly
cooperate
what
with
Jack killed
detainers,
for.
and so
But
ICE is
technically,
then going
it's a federal
to get
case
these
now.
people
Yeah.
off the street.
This,
You
that one?
agree
Okay.
that the streets are safer without these
I don't know why they did
individuals on your
that.
streets.
That's weird. But I'm glad it went
in
through.
Minneapolis and in Minnesota, we are anti-murder. We are anti-crime. We are for improving the safety wherever we
But I
can.
thought
And
she
by the
moved
way,
to
we have worked
because
with
it was in the
administrations,
news.
both
I think I
present
covered it
and
that she had
past, to
recently
drive
moved
down
to
crime. We've
Minnesota.
worked with the DEA, the ATF, the FBI to prosecute and charge violent
Yeah,
crime.
that's weird.
We've
YouTube,
worked to get
fuck you,
perpetrators of
YouTube.
violent gun crime off the street, narcotics
Censor that,
off the street.
bitch.
In fact, the work
That's
that
why I don't
was
have that much of
conducted
an
was so
audience.
successful
Because I'm a
it
loose cannon.
resulted in
You
the
can't
lowest
censor me.
number of
You
shootings
could
on record on, for
fuck
instance,
with me
the
with the
north side.
algorithm.
We
but
are willing to
fuck
work
you,
with people when
YouTube.
it's about murder and when it's about crime. But the truth is that
Hey,
this
I'm gonna be
ain't
me,
about
and if you don't
that.
like it,
If this
listen.
were about that, we'd have
You don't
many
have to watch.
important areas where there would be areas.
But
where
I'm
we
still
could
gonna
work
fucking
together.
record.
This, however, is the largest immigration
Oh man!
enforcement action
Chloe,
on
you saw the
record
last
in the
video,
United States.
the last
And so
short
I would
I
just
did,
ask you,
and Terry, did you
why
see it?
Is the largest
With the
scale
card I
immigration
pulled?
enforcement action taking place where we don't even have that many undocumented immigrants? Why would it not take place in Texas
It's
or
pretty cool. You
Florida
gotta
or
go
Utah,
watch it.
where you do
Gotta watch my
have
shorts.
those large numbers of undocumented
I did. I
immigrants?
put the shorts
Because that
in
financially should
the.
make more sense.
I
But
did it
again,
like a page
if
only
the
for the
issue
shorts,
is
so you can
murder
watch all
or
the
crime,
shorts.
the answer is we do work with
So
the
it's like
federal
you can
government. In
watch
fact,
all my
we're
rips.
presently doing that. We're
Well,
presently
so
doing that.
Texas,
so the
you
truth is,
mentioned
it's not
Texas.
about
You
murder
could
or
bench
crime.
watch.
It's not.
I'm
mentioned
making it
Texas
so people
and
can bench
Florida.
watch.
You just had a surge
Because
in
the sound,
Louisiana,
people
and you
like
didn't see
hearing the
any
sounds
of the
of the package
commotion
opening.
that
It's
you are seeing now in
ASMR.
your
That's what it's
city
about.
because all of those states
This guy's a
fully
fucking idiot.
cooperate
I
with
talk
ICE
over
detainers.
this
Just look
stupid
at some
mayor.
of the
This guy's a
videos,
fucking
Mayor
idiot.
Fry, that we have seen of these protesters, many of whom you have praised. You've called them heroes for being out there exercising their First Amendment rights, but they've gone farther. They're blocking the ICE operations.
had
They're impeding.
thousands of
Take a look at some of the videos. You've seen these.
I'm happy to look at videos. I've
You're
seen
seeing-
it happening live.
Watch
And
this.
so, do you want?
Damn, he's making watch it. I had a nice pull last night. I was so happy too. It was a beautiful card. It was illustration rare. I pulled out. You gotta check it out. These people are so fucking weird. What's wrong with them?
And so that's just a sampling of it. You're seeing it in real time. You are aware that 18 U.S. Code 111 makes it
She
a
drove
federal
two
crime
states to get to Minnesota.
impede, interfere,
Yeah, but
or
then
even assault.
didn't he say they put the
officers,
kid
and we
in
see
daycare or something
protesters
or
crossing the
school?
line of
I'm not.
protesting,
I
throwing rocks.
I don't know, man. This
hitting
story
cars,
keeps fucking
and
fluctuating.
interfering in the federal government's view.
I
of
thought
their
they said that they
operation of
put
carrying out
a
federal
child
immigration law enforcement.
that she just had dropped off the
We
kid.
have had perhaps tens of thousands of people peacefully
And I think it was a
protesting
boy.
in the streets. And at the same time, yeah, they are going to stand up for their neighbors. And what we are seeing time and time again is
Damn, that's
unconstitutional conduct by ICE. ICE
How
is
did you
not
go
new.
from Missouri to
Our
Iowa and
separation
then from
ordinance
Iowa to
in the
Minnesota?
city is not new. ICE has been
I'm just
around for
saying, this is
decades,
like,
so has our
you know,
separation ordinance. What is new?
why
What is
you're
new
going
is the way
backwards?
that the
You know
Trump
what I mean?
administration is presently conducting
Why are you going
themselves. Now,
backwards? I would have stayed
again,
mad in Missouri.
if this were about murder or yeah, we do have a
You
I would have
lawsuit.
stayed in
Let's
Missouri.
talk
I would
about
have
that.
stayed in
So
Iowa.
legal analysts,
Fuck
not just
Minnesota.
on Fox News,
Hell
on
no.
CNN and other networks, are saying that this holds no water. There's no basis for it. You're telling me here on Fox News that you support law enforcement removing murderers and rapists. So what's with the lawsuit?
Damn, 2 state lines. That's fucking nuts.
Well, because what is happening right now through ICE
Wait a
is not
minute.
about
We see the
getting
tag
rid of murderers.
when
What we see right
I have
now
it on
is
my show.
discrimination
Damn.
taking place only
Where
on the
you see
basis
the
of
tag,
race. Are you
you
Latino?
see where the tag is
or Are
from
you Somali? And then it is
on the vehicle.
indiscriminate thereafter. In other words,
Damn,
they
I gotta
don't
go
pull
back and
people
watch
off
that
the
shit.
streets. They
I gotta
have pulled
find it.
U.S. citizens off the streets. And
Good luck.
you don't need to take my word for it. At this
But
point,
you can find it.
this has been very
Go back and
well
watch my shows. It's
documented.
fun.
And also, you don't need to take
That's
my
how I
word
get people
for
to
it.
go watch.
Listen to Trump.
Go scavenger hunt and then
Trump
tell me where it's
himself
at.
is saying that this is about retribution.
I
He's
got so many
saying that
videos.
there
I'm
is a
almost
reckoning
1,000.
and a retribution
Man,
that
I'm
is
getting
coming.
towards faster
so,
1,000
again,
videos than I
if
am
this were
subscribers.
about
Ain't that
murder
crazy?
or rape or crime
I'm getting
or fraud, then
an
look,
idiot.
we have worked together, not just with the Biden administration, with the past Trump administration, with the Bush administration.
We
We
have
have
to hear
worked
this
with
shit.
a number of different administrations to successfully drive down crime.
President
This
Trump,
is not
Mr. Mayor,
about that. And so
secured the
yes, sir.
border, which is
Damn,
what he
yeah, a
ran
dog in the
on.
car
You
too?
give him credit for securing that border.
Yeah, I
and
feel
now
I feel bad
he's
for the
going
dog
to
from the
interior
accident.
with ICE
You remember the
operations to
vehicle
remove
crashed,
the criminal
and the
illegal
and the
aliens
dog
that
was in the
came
car.
in that open border of the previous
She
administration.
was not
I think at the
thinking.
end of the day, let me get you on record if I can, Mr. Mayor. Do
And
you
her butch
support
whatever
abolishing ICE?
hers been.
I
It's
do
a
not
her
support
her
abolishing
spin.
ICE. However,
Her
I absolutely
drive with the
oppose the
drive,
way
baby,
that
drive,
this
drive.
administration is conducting themselves.
And that's what
with
she
us.
did. And
Look,
her wheels
there
slipped a
are
little bit in
number
the
of
front.
entities presently,
And these
agencies
vehicles.
of
But
the
isn't that
federal
what your
government,
lawsuit is about?
that are
Stopping ICE
conducting
right now?
themselves. No, you should read the lawsuit. The
I
lawsuit says
have.
that, hey, you know, ICE doing ICE stuff is not what we're talking about right now. Again, we've had ICE in our city before. We've had ICE in our state before. It is the fact that, look, right now, there's about 3,000 federal ICE agents in our city between ICE and Border Control. You know how many police officers that we have? 600.
Right.
The kind of duress that our city is experiencing because of this is magnified. Again, crime has been down. This is not helping. Chaos has been dramatically increased
Crime's been
by
down.
the way that
And
these
this
ICE
not has been
operations
helping.
are taking
Wow.
place. And we are looking for
So
ways to keep
that
this
doesn't make any
city
sense.
safe.
I
I hope
support-
that people, especially viewing,
So
can
they're trying to say that
understand
ICE
we
is
wanna
creating
keep this
more
city
crime.
safe.
That's what he
This
just
is
mentioned.
not accomplishing it by any
That
stretch.
ICE is
I
creating
appreciate
more
your
crime.
viewpoint. I want to get a question
Because
in
crime is
respecting
down.
time on fraud. But
Bullshit.
lastly, just one last one. You mentioned President Trump. So he is threatening to pull funding from sanctuary jurisdictions that have policies such as Minneapolis. Your reaction?
We have a separation ordinance in the city. And you know what that ordinance says? It says that I want our limited numbers of police officers focusing on keeping people safe.
What the fuck he's talking about police
arresting
officers?
Perpetrators of
He's not
violent
answering the
crime,
question.
stopping car thefts from taking place.
He's not answering the
That's what
question.
I want them focusing on. You know what I don't want them focusing on? Hunting down a dad. That
What
just dropped
is
his
he
kids
talking
off at
about? He
daycare, is
just
about to go work a
told him
12-hour
about the
shift, who
money
happens to be
that
from
Trump's going to cut the
that
funds
guy
going to
makes our city a better
Minneapolis.
place.
And this
So
is what he's
again,
talking about.
if
This is
we're
his
talking
answer.
about arresting violent criminals, Minneapolis does not oppose that, but that's not what is taking place in the streets of our city. People who
What are you talking
American
about? You're not answering the question.
citizens- I want to say this again. American citizens are being taken off our streets right now, and I hope any American citizen out there can understand how
What?
concerning that is.
I appreciate
freedom.
your
We should
compassion,
be about
but
freedom
Mr.
in
Mayor,
this
do
country.
you-
We should be about liberty. And when you are an
Why is
American
he
citizen that is
over-talking
being
the
picked up
recorder?
by a federal agent of any
He has no
administration,
patience.
we should all
guy's
be
a
saying,
fucking
you know
idiot.
what? Let's take a beat. Let's think.
That's why I
this
talk
through.
over him.
Maybe
Fuck his ass.
this isn't right.
There's
He's a
two
piece of
sides
shit.
to this story. You mentioned an Ecuadorian migrant. Are you familiar with Victoria Eileen Harwell? An Ecuadorian illegal immigrant in August of 2024, driving drunk, crashed head on into Victoria Harwell, killing her. Her 14-year-old daughter survived, and her sister. ICE released her, local Hennepin County released her not once, but twice, and didn't cooperate with ICE detainers. Why not?
Why?
Since you're in favor of removing them, cooperate with ICE, whether you have this sanctuary policy that the DHS says it is, you call it a separation ordinance. Why not just cooperate and make it safer for everyone involved, the community, the officers, and even the migrants?
My position here is pretty
Oh,
straightforward.
Lord.
And that's
Where's my violin?
If you
I need a
commit
violin.
crime, if you commit
telling you,
fraud,
I
if
want
you
a
commit
violin.
carjacking or a murder, you should be
I
investigated,
need to learn how to
charged,
play it.
prosecuted,
And like when people like
held
this talk,
accountable, and
I could
yes,
be playing the
arrested and
violin.
put in jail.
Wouldn't that be fucking
That is
amazing?
my position if you commit a crime
Oh
and
my
you are
God.
a
I come up
problem
with the
on the
greatest
streets
ideas,
of the
but it's
city
just
of
I haven't
Minneapolis that has made
executed it
us
yet
less
because
safe.
I'm
What I'm
focusing my
saying
money on
is that
Pokemon
a
at the
lot of the
moment.
people that ICE is
I
picking
feel like
up
my
right
time is
now in
short
our
and I need
city
to get these
are
cards
not a
and
problem for
build this
Minneapolis. They've opened
master
businesses. They've
set
been
for
here
my
for
niece.
longer than I've been here. They
Her
contribute so beautiful and
like her
greatly to our
5th
city.
year
They have
birthday is
families
coming up.
here. They're our neighbors, and yeah,
It's
we
actually
love
in
them.
May.
We love them and we care about them. And I hope that people
Let me
throughout
see
the
if I
country
can go
can
to the party.
understand that, you know,
Hopefully,
we got to be thinking
God
about other
willing,
people as if it
if
were
I don't,
ourselves. You know,
if I
what
have
would
to have
we do in these
surgery, I don't
situations?
know
How would we
if
handle
I'll
ourselves?
be able
And,
to make
you know,
it. But
we care
I will
deeply
try to
about
do
our
the surgery
immigrant
after their
population.
birthday.
We
You
care
know,
deeply
like
about
do
everybody
the
in our city.
surgery
And what we're
late
seeing
May
right now is the kind of chaos
instead of
that is being
the beginning
caused
because her birthday's
by
in the
this
beginning.
massive influx of ICE agents.
But I would like to
Isn't
go for like a
helpful.
week.
Let me just turn quickly, and we so appreciate your time,
Just
to the issue
I
of
could spend
fraud. You
time with my
recently
niece,
said
like a whole
fraud
week.
is real. There's convictions have been
Because
done, and you say
like
that Governor
come
Walz
over to
has
the
taken
resort that I'm
measures.
staying at,
But you also said
so she
that
could play in the pool and
more
shit.
could have been done. Those were your comments on the Sunday show where you had an interview on Sunday. And my question to you is that sufficient to the Minnesota taxpayers for whom billions was stolen to just say more could have been done? Would you like to address the taxpayers and weigh in a little bit more on where this fraud investigation goes?
Oh, your daughter's in June?
I
That's
would like to
nice.
address it. More could have been done. More can be done.
Yeah,
And
hers
I
is
think it makes it
in
really
May.
clear that
So I'm
this is not
hoping
about
if
clamping
I need to have
down on
surgery, I
fraud.
can
These
do it
ICE these ICE
like towards
arrests
the,
we're seeing in our
I would
city,
say
when the people
maybe
that
more
have been
towards the end of
investigating the
June.
fraud just walked out
So
of the
that way
U.S.
I could
Attorney's
spend the
office.
summer
The people
recovering.
that have been
I don't want to recover
investigating
in the winter.
and
That
prosecuting
sucks.
this fraud
I'd rather recover
in
in
the
the summer
Trump
so I can go out and
administration
I
at
can
the
walk,
U.S. Attorney's office
you
said,
know,
you know what?
taking that
What is
sun, taking the
happening
heat.
isn't right.
I
It's
think it's
not
better
fair. It's not. I
than
mean, I
having to
don't.
deal with this in the
What is
winter.
happening is not okay.
At least I
and
want to
they've
be
all walked
recovered
out.
by the time winter
And
comes.
so again, this ain't about clamping down
At
on
least not
fraud when
have
the
that crazy
investigators
pain.
themselves just left.
So Governor Walz has decided he's not going to run for re-election. Does Attorney General Keith Ellison bear some responsibility for why this fraud was so widespread and was able to go on for so long without being noticed?
Look, there have been investigations
You
into
can't
this
answer
fraud
it.
now for years. People have been prosecuted. People have been convicted. And that's the way it should be. When you commit a crime in this country, you are held accountable and you go to jail as an individual. You go to jail as an individual. Entire communities, entire populations are not held accountable for the actions of the individuals that actually did it. And so that's where my position is. And again, if we care about the investigation of these crimes, and I do you find it concerning that all of the people that were actually investigating and prosecuting this crime just walked out? Do you find that concerning?
We just cover it and we see where the facts lead us and we will report on it. And that is why we so greatly appreciate your time and having you come in and
I'm
weigh
sure
in
that's
on
the
these
case
things.
there, Griff.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Jacob Fry, Mayor of Minneapolis.
This guy's a fucking idiot. Look at him. What a disgrace. He's a fucking alien. I think he's a fucking alien. He could be a fucking alien. You guys don't believe in that shit? I think so. I think listen, look at that mugshot. Who do you think he is? Clark Kent or something? With the little blue background, have your Minneapolis. You think you think you're Superman? You're super Somali? Maybe the S is for Somali. Maybe it's for the salamis. You put the S for the salamis. That's the S in your chest. That's what it's gonna be. Just give him the fucking the Superman suit, and let him wear that S on his chest with pride. He's the super Somali. He's the super salami of all the salamis. He is the super salami. There you go. We can make figurines too and everything. We could make little like action toys and stuff. And he's like, and then we can make him talk. He's like, I'm the king of Somalis. You know, I'm the king of the salamis. If you like, I don't know, man. We're living in such unique times. If you're not feeling it, pinch yourself. Like, keep pinching yourself until you feel it. Like, it's crazy. Everything is really wild. It's a really weird times we're living in. I wish things would get better, right? That's all we hope for, right? For things to get better and people to start like waking up from everything that's been going on. But we're trapped. We're trapped in a vortex, and we're too busy to actually realize what the hell's going on because they keep us busy. Slavery never ended. Like, slavery never ended. If you think slavery ended, like, let me slap you and wake you back up. You know what I mean? It's like it just never ended. We instead of them taking care of us, they still take care of us. They just give us the money to take our own things and buy what we want to and stuff. But that's still a form of slavery because you got to be at that clock at that day at that time, because if you're not, they fire you. That's a form of slavery. They're like, we don't need this slave. Get the fuck out of here. And then you're fucked. And you're like, you need another job. So it's like they make you need it so much that you have to be there. That's a form of the worst slavery. You know, you have to be there, because if you're not there, you're gone and somebody else is gonna replace you. You know? It's like, damn, man. That sucks. All right, let me pull up another video because the audio started to go bad again. So I know because it gives me a message every single time it does it. I'm so sick of. I'm not paying them next month. I'm not paying them next month. I'm gonna let them know. I am not paying.
And joining us for more on this is Maya Ostavar. She is a lecturer at the University of Galloway and a women's rights activist. Maya, thank you so much for your time.
Bizarro, yeah.
We've heard about how these 2 weeks of protests have really kind of escalated, but I'm curious, what exactly are these protesters demanding?
Kayla, have a good night.
Thanks for
I
having
see you have a migraine.
So
Damn.
first of all, as you mentioned, people have been
Get in the
protesting
dark,
for 2
girl.
weeks, and what we see right now is really a humanitarian
Have
crisis.
a great night.
Because of the violence and basically brutal crackdown.
My son
What the
is
protesters are
November.
demanding, and I want
He's
to
gonna
emphasize
be
here that they're
21.
really
Oh, he's a
risking their lives. They know
legit
better
adult.
than anyone that they can be killed
Oh
on the street.
shit.
They can be arrested,
There's
tortured,
one
and
of
executed.
yeah,
Just
there's
like
more
you
than we
mentioned,
know at
Irfan
Area
Sultan is
51,
now
that's for
on
sure.
death row. So
But
despite
this
all this,
motherfucker
despite
is
all these risks,
Bizarro.
they want to make one thing
Wait for this
clear. They
actually
don't
slaves
recognize
and
the
get
Islamic
paid. Yeah.
Republic as their legitimate
Back then they
government
just got
anymore.
taken care of.
So what we
You
hear on
know,
the
they
streets,
fed
the
them.
slogans are really
They give them a
radical.
place
They're
to take a
targeting the
shower.
whole system, the
They,
entire regime.
you
They're
know,
basically chanting death to
give
Khamenei,
them a place
and
to
they're
sleep,
also
shit
slogans
like
in
that.
support of Reza
But they
Pahlavi,
used
the
them
son of our
to do
last
work and do
Shah, our
stuff, and
last king.
they didn't get paid for
And one
that.
of the main slogans
They got
for this
paid by
protest that kind
food,
of, I think, captures the
by
common
like
feeling of
little
Iranians right
things, you
now
know.
is that this is the
And
final
eventually
battle,
that
and the
changed,
Pahlavi
and
will
then they started getting
Pahlavi
paid, and
will
then that's
return.
when they started
And I
having
think
like
it captures both this
servants and
feeling that,
butlers and stuff
first
like
of
that,
all,
and they would pay them
the Islamic Republic is
like
on
a
the
penny
verge of
salary,
collapse, and this is the final battle, and
penny
yet the
salary,
hardest battle. And also, it shows
penny an
how
hour.
protesters see this movement, this protest,
Like you
as
would
a
make
kind
like
of counter
7 to
revolution.
8 pennies a
Basically,
day,
what they want to
even
do, they
more if
see
you
the
stayed.
Islamic
Like
revolution that
get 10
happened
cents.
47 years ago as a historical mistake, and they want to correct that mistake. So what I see as the main demand of these protests, it has gone further than any kind of demand from the government. They want to basically show the world that they don't want this regime anymore.
Gotcha. Well, and in terms of outside intervention, you said you don't believe that statements are enough. How do you feel the global response must change on this?
I feel it might change because honestly, right now, the Islamic Republic has crossed a red line. They have slaughtered basically people on the street, unarmed citizens just protesting. They have slaughtered them. And the numbers that are coming out are really frightening. I mean, human rights organizations that have been documenting these crimes in Iran for years, they are saying that this is worse than ever. We have never imagined this that have happened. So what I'm saying that is that the situation is really urgent, and like all these years, during decades, what was the world response to the Islamic Republic? Only diplomacy, and it has never worked. And it has only gotten
Oh, I'm
worse.
sorry.
So we are
I was just
far
hearing the song
beyond
in my
that
head.
point of negotiating and diplomacy. We need real action now. And to be honest, I mean, I'm here because outside Iran, from the comfort of my home, I feel I need to echo the Iranians' voice inside Iran as faithfully as possible, because they don't have that voice right now. They are in complete blackout. Basically, the Islamic Republic has gotten hostage those people for 6 days now, keeping them in the dark and not letting the videos and images come out of the country, so that nobody sees what they have done, how many people they have killed. So I think it's time for the international community to act, like real action, not
She knows what's going on.
statements
She knows the
anymore.
truth.
And my
Don't let Trump
responsibility is
gaslight
to
you.
echo those
He's not good at
because
it.
those little messages that are getting out of the
That's the
country,
thing. He's not good at
almost
it.
all of them are calling for international
Trump is a
help,
bad
for
liar. You know what I
international
mean?
action. So we need to echo those
He
voices
doesn't
as
really.
faithfully
He's
as
just a bad
possible.
liar.
We are in no position to tell them
Not a
that
bad
no,
thing.
you should kind of choose between different political
Like me, I'm
parties.
bad at lying.
Iranian people don't have this luxury of
Because I
choosing
don't need to
between
lie.
Western
Why do I need
political
to lie?
parties or Western ideology. They need help right now.
I understand. Maya, hey, thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Thank you.
Maya knows the truth out there. She knows what's going on, and it's not nice. Like, she knows people are dying. Doesn't matter what Trump tells you. Trump is not there. Trump is not seeing what's going on behind closed doors. People get outed. They just bury the body, burn the body, whatever. You never know, Trump. So how can you say, oh, nobody's getting killed in Iran? Literally just stop at the dime. Nobody's killing nobody there over there. Really? Yeah, like I said, I got plenty of bridges here in Connecticut. I could sell you. Just name your price. I have PayPal. You can just throw it over to me. You know, I'll put that money to good use. Trust me, I'll buy more Pokemon. I'll buy more Pokemon. I gotta pick the Pokemon for tonight's show because I have to record after I finish the show. I record the short and then I upload it so you guys can see. So pay attention to at the end of the show. Give me about like half an hour to an hour, possibly half an hour. I'll have a video uploaded of me opening one of these. These are the ones that have the promo card and a one of these what you might call those things is a coin, like a plastic. This one's plastic coin, and yeah, I'll be opening up one of these on tonight's show. I don't know which one I'll go for, but I'll make sure it's a good one. And hopefully we'll get something good because, damn, man. Like I said, I really want to get really good Pokemon cards for my niece. This year, I would like to go to a card show. If I could go to a couple of them, that'd be great. I know Mohegan Sun is going to be having a card show sometime in the springtime, I believe. I gotta double check, and I know Hartford is supposed to have some kind of card show. So I'm looking for as close as possible within the state of Connecticut to go to a card show and search for great deals on Pokemon and their investments for my niece for the future. I can't give her the cash now. She's only 4 years old. I'd rather buy the Pokemons, save as much on it. If I get good hits, that's great for her. And as many hits as I can get, that's as much as she's going to get. And we'll see how that fares. I hope it goes well. I hope we get something good, and it's for her future, not mine, because I'm only enjoying the excitement of opening and getting it. I am not going to be able to enjoy in the future because that's like 14 years away by the time she turns 18, and less actually, probably like 13 and a half years. That's a good long time, and having these cards for that long and just sit on them and then have the values just go up on them and so forth, and I hope they do. Like, I want to get other Pokemons and save them and just build a little collection and just save it for her. So when I do perish, she has something to have and she can reminisce. She could pick one of the cards to keep for herself, or like, something that came from me. So, but other than that, sell those bitches and buy yourself a brand new car. Dun, 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 dun. Yay! The price is right. All right. I'm having too much fun. Let's see what else is going on in outer space. We're going to space. Hold on. Let me get a space image. Let me get a little effects back here. We're going how far out we want to go. Let's go. Let me just go to another planet. Here, let's go to another planet and let's watch this next segment.
4:20 p.m. Central Time, 5:20 p.m. Eastern Time for undocking. As Dragon and the International Space Station flew 260 statute miles south of Australia.
What the fuck is happening?
And that
is that evacuation?
Live right here on Live Now from Fox. Always a very exciting moment. Crew
What's that exciting?
Now officially on the return back to Earth. What a great shot that is, courtesy of NASA. Let's continue our coverage here on Live Now from Fox. Let's get some analysis on it all. I want to bring in our next guest to help talk about it. Please welcome everyone.
What the fuck is that?
The editor-in-chief, Tariq Malik. Great to have you on. You've been busy all day doing the live updates on space.
What's your pronouns?
And what a moment we're seeing right now.
Yeah, Mike, this is an unprecedented event in the history of human space, like the first medical evacuation, an early end to a mission that these astronauts, spend a lifetime training for. And it is interesting that they've made this decision fairly quickly after a concern popped up last week.
Yes, talk about us how this procedure happened, and when something like this happens, when there is this type of emergency, how long does it start to take NASA and other team members to get this mission a little bit faster, expedited?
Yeah, this all happened fairly quickly in terms of like NASA consideration. Last week on January 7th, these astronauts were getting ready to conduct a spacewalk. Two of them, Crew 11 Commander Zena Cardman and pilot Mike Fink, were going to actually perform two spacewalks back to back to upgrade the space station and its solar arrays. And something popped up that night that that prompted, I guess, some extra scrutiny from NASA and their flight surgeons. Each of these astronauts has a doctor assigned to them that they speak to on a regular basis. And a day later, they made the decision to call them. First of all, they postponed those spacewalks, and then the next day they just said, you know what, we're going to bring these folks home a month earlier than planned. It's a serious condition, but it seemed like it wasn't an emergency one because it took them about a week to turn things around. They said that the astronaut involved is stable, but they want to give them medical care.
And I'm not going to tell
with,
you.
I guess, more sensitive equipment that they have on the ground than what they've got on the space station. So all things considered, a very quick turnaround. But
Yeah, because they got to get everything prepared. You got to get the ship out
running fast
there.
speed because they
You
did
got
say
to
that
get
the astronaut was stable at that point in
the
time.
people to go out and
Obviously
retrieve.
now with Crew 11
It's a process.
leaving, that leaves fewer astronauts right now on the ISS. What does that mean going forward here for the next couple of weeks when they're supposed to be doing, scientific experiments? How does that impact everything now with the limited number of
They can't do them.
astronauts?
Well, for a number of years, actually, the better part of a decade now, we've had larger crews on the space station, either with visiting crews, where space shuttles were visiting up until 2011, or more recently, since 2015 or 2020, 7-person teams like we see here. The departure of this crew early does leave the space station a bit short-handed. So there'll be 3 astronauts remaining behind NASA's
Yeah, but
Chris
they'll
Williams,
send them
as well
up.
as 2 Russian cosmonauts.
SpaceX
And they'll
will
have
do
to
it.
spend a bit of extra time on their own maintaining the station. Now, it is pretty large. The space station's about as big as a 5-bedroom home. It's the size of a football field, and there's a lot of maintenance that has to be done on a regular basis. So this does mean that with 4 fewer people on board, these 3 astronauts will have to kind of pick up some slack, maybe reduce science operations for a while they wait for the replacement. Typically, those crew changes happen on an overlapping schedule. So if these 4 astronauts were able to stay, their replacement that arrives in February would then join them, and they'd have 11 folks on board for a little bit for that handover. So they don't have that opportunity with this decision.
And what's going to happen now from the moments we already saw the undocking just moments ago? What's going to happen from now until splashdown? Obviously, not a Hollywood movie, because if it was, we would have the undocking in about 5 more minutes. We would have a splashdown.
That's right. It's not as fast as what you see in the movies. They have about an 11-hour, maybe 10.5-hour flight ahead of them right now as they back away to a safe distance from the space station. They'll do a departure burn.
Imagine
where the
you
Dragon
have a
spacecraft, its
appendix
name is
rupture.
Endeavour, will
You gotta
fire
come back
its thrusters to back
quick.
away to a
You gotta
further
wait
distance
with
to
all
get
that pain
basically on a path to return
for
back
11
to Earth.
hours.
And then
That sucks.
the splashdown is targeted for the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Southern California at about 3:41 a.m. Eastern time there. So about an hour before that, they'll start to fire the engines to leave Earth orbit, and then it's just gravity's effects on the way down from there. They've got parachutes and a heat shield to protect them on the way down, and then they'll splash down. NASA usually hopes that SpaceX and their recovery teams can collect these astronauts within about an hour of splashdown. They've got a recovery ship out there for this sort of thing, and they're pretty swift at it. They are coming in under darkness, so you can expect NASA and SpaceX will have some infrared instruments tracking that reentry since they'll be hard to see at night.
No doubt it's going to be fascinating to see it all happen from now until splashdown. Tyreek Malik with Space.com. Thanks so much for joining us on Live Now from Fox, giving us some great insights on this way home for Crew 11.
Thank you.
All right, let's keep it moving. We got more to watch.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kara Sundling, coming to you from the WFSB Plus Streaming Digital Center, bringing you an afternoon update on a very tragic story we have been covering now for some time, and that is the story of Jacqueline Mimi Torres Garcia. She was the 11-year-old girl whose body was found in a 40-gallon plastic container in New Britain, and it was later determined by investigators that her own mother murdered her, along with her
Oh.
death was extreme starvation. I now have what we see
See my
here
video. I
as
mean, I went to
the
visit the
autopsy
place.
report. This just came in from the medical examiner, and it's really difficult, extremely difficult to read for anyone, especially those of us who have children. It's awful to read. I do want to share with you some information because it's shedding light on what you're going to be hearing about in the investigation. It's also something that we have been doing here, and I want to let you know that I have put together with our producers here a 3-part investigative piece that's streaming right now called Little Girl Lost on WFSB Plus, where we go in depth into all of this detector. But just to give you an
That's so
idea
disturbing.
of what this autopsy report says, number one, the final diagnosis is fatal child abuse with starvation. She had marked emaciation. There was a prominence of a bony skeleton. She had nearly no body fat. Her body weighed only 27 pounds after
Oh my
decomposition,
God.
and they say there's a near absence of any fat. Only a
Ugh.
single blueberry in her stomach.
Oh my
And they also
God.
found amphetamines that were not prescribed to little Jacqueline Mimi Torres
Oh,
in her system. So there was also an odor of ammonia with the wrappings and the
you think she
contents in this
overdosed and died
40-gallon
from the amphetamines?
bin. And as you can imagine, they
Maybe
do believe that she
fentanyl?
might have died about a year prior to her body being found. So there was advanced decomposition. She was still in her clothes, and
Oh,
they note that what types of clothes she was wearing.
oh my God.
And for whatever reason, they also found some candy wrappers. It's unexplained why those
Oh my
would
God.
be in the plastic drum. As I mentioned, this has been a very, very horrific case to cover. It has received national attention as we have a mother, Carla Garcia, and her former boyfriend, Jonathan Nanita, both accused of her murder. Also, little Mimi's aunt, also charged with cruelty, and police saying that she even took pictures of her being pictures on urination pads where she couldn't move. So now the autopsy report is also showing that she was starved to death rather than beaten to death. There were some earlier investigative interviews suggesting Carla Garcia that Jonathan and Anita had thrown her down the stairs or had hurt her in some way. She then changed her story a bit. This autopsy report shows no broken bones. No broken bones at all in the case of Jacqueline Mimi Torres Garcia. This is the autopsy report I'm holding if you're just joining us. So I just want to also let you know again about this 3-part series where we have delved into not only the investigation, but everything that our investigative team led by Sam Smink has uncovered with all of the police reports, and also the idea of whether or not homeschooling played a role. That was part 3 of our investigative pieces. If you remember, Jacqueline Mimi Torres Garcia, her mother had informed the New Britain School District that she would no longer attend and she would be homeschooled. Their DCF was involved in this case, but investigators say the mother went so far as to put a different child on the Zoom call for a wellness check. So
Damn.
I want to show you a little bit of
That's
what you're
crazy.
going to see if you decide to delve deeper with us and watch what I think is a very informative piece that we are entitling Little Girl Lost.
October 8th, 2025. A gruesome discovery in
I
the
went to that home
backyard
there.
of a boarded up house on
Right
Clark
there, I
Street
went.
in New Britain.
I left
What appeared to be
3. I actually
human
left 2
remains
candles there.
hidden in a plastic container.
It's very unsettling and very nerve-wracking.
And even worse, the
I left 6
remains believed to
candles.
be that of a little girl. A memorial would start to grow.
It's heartbreaking. It's
You can see the
a
video.
little girl,
It's in my
like, she
channel.
didn't deserve that.
The community left horrified with many
Go and watch.
questions. Who was this girl? Who was to blame? The night of October 8th, just hours after the remains were found, a large, angry crowd gathered on nearby Tremont Street. Channel 3 captured this exclusive video. Carla Garcia, handcuffed and taken into police custody. You can hear a voice calling out a haunting question.
Where's the girl?
Where's the girl? Once at New Britain Police Headquarters, a camera in the lobby captures the conversation between Garcia and the officers.
The whole family just showed up on Tremont Street. The 25.
I pulled over so the officer could get me because they're chasing me with guns.
Yeah.
So I pulled over. I'm going there. It's my safest spot. They've been chasing me for like a whole hour. These dumbass kids, bro. Like,
What'd you do to them?
no, what they do to me?
Oh, I don't know.
Like,
Garcia told officers she did not feel safe and wanted to stay there with police.
You don't have to leave here, but I just want to make you aware that you're not under arrest.
I know I'm not under arrest because I didn't do nothing.
Exactly. Okay. I just want to make it
I'm
clear.
being honest with you.
Okay, thank you.
Because if I did, I would tell you. I really don't care. I'm ready for anything.
We would like to talk to you.
I'm ready to talk.
Attention then turned to Carla's children.
I have kids. I have 5 kids.
5 kids. All ages? How's the oldest?
12.
12.
Because Nina is 11, I think.
Who's 12?
Jackie.
Jackie is her daughter, Jacqueline
Mm.
Torres Garcia, also known as Mimi, who would have turned 12 months earlier in January. But evidence would show she died before that while living in Farmington. And it was Jacqueline's
I went
remains
there.
in that container.
You can go see the video. I should go during the day.
On October 13th, only 5 days after this investigation began, officials from multiple agencies, including Farmington and New Britain Police, share some shocking news.
Evidence indicates that Jacqueline was the victim of prolonged physical abuse and malnourishment prior to her death. It is also believed that following her death, Jacqueline's body was kept in the family's basement and subsequently moved when the family relocated from Farmington in March of 2025.
3 people were quickly charged. Police body cam video catching the arrest of Mimi's own mother, Carla, and Carla's sister, Jacqueline Garcia.
Why?
Put your hands behind your back. You're under arrest.
For what?
And Carla's now ex-boyfriend, Jonathan Nanita.
That is our report, Little Girl Lost. And you will find this on WFSB Plus.
She wasn't
You
lost.
can watch all 3
Fucking
episodes. Just
mother was a
brief
fucking
moment that
psycho.
we're showing you of
How about
episode
government
1,
lost?
But it's streaming now. It's called Little Girl Lost. This is
How
a
about
3-part
the
series
government
that I'm bringing
failed
to you
this
with
little
our
girl?
team, with our investigative reporter Sam
I
Smith,
didn't want to hear
also
this.
law enforcement.
I don't even want to hear anymore. This little girl, they failed her. They failed her to the max level, and the media is like, "Oh, little girl lost." No, she was not lost. The fucking the system failed Mimi. The system there a whole year. The whole system didn't check on her. The school never checked on her. Even their homeschooled, they still need to be checked on. The doctor never went and say, she needs a physical. Where are you? Or dentist, or a whole bunch of ways these people could have reached out, but nothing. This one, the mother just got out of jail, literally, and the fact that she was able to get custody of Mimi, which made 0 sense. Now that girl's resting in peace, man. But she went through hell. She suffered. That you don't understand. Oh my God, I'm very empathic, so I feel what she went through, and it just makes me sick. It makes me sick. All right, let's see what else is going on here. Let's go ahead and check this out. 1 sec. Set this up. Actually, let's leave from my planet that I was there for 2 segments. So let's change that back out. Let's bring back The Rock, and let's watch the next news segment here.
Cannabis sales went down across Connecticut in 2025, according to a new
Definitely
state
expensive.
data. And that's despite December marking the highest month of cannabis sales
Expensive. It's
ever
not
since
cheap.
recreational use here in our state became legal. Your reporter, Sierra Jordan,
Yeah,
shares
but they
what
get
it means
taxed
for
too
customers
high.
and businesses.
It's too high.
Cannabis sales in Connecticut don't look the
Literally
same
high.
as they do just over the border in Massachusetts. And some customers say they notice a difference. Massachusetts resident Eric Davidson says he learned that firsthand.
It's cheaper to come over the border.
Yeah, it's Massachusetts.
State records
cheaper.
show Connecticut retailers sold about $290 million worth
cheaper
of
in
cannabis in
Massachusetts.
2025.
I go to Cheech and
That's slightly
Chong's.
down from
It's cheaper
2024,
there.
when sales hit about $293
I
million.
don't drive up there all the time
Right
because
now,
my
there are
fucking knees
61
hurt.
licensed cannabis
Look at my back
retailers
hurts.
across the state. Nearly half,
It's a
29
drive.
stores, are clear to sell both medical and
But I'm
recreational
gonna go.
cannabis, including fine federal. The local business will be making that switch tomorrow as a hybrid retailer.
We wanted to make access more available to people and give more options, because the expansion has really been all through recreational and not through medical.
Benjamin Zach says expanding access is important, but price still plays a big role for customers. In Connecticut, that final total at checkout can add up quickly. Customers pay the state's 6.35% sales tax,
Yeah, you
an
see?
additional
That's the
3%
tax.
local tax, plus a THC-based tax, which can add another 10 to 15%. Compare
get
that to Massachusetts.
We were in Connecticut. I think it's kind of crazy. Massachusetts just has a regular cannabis tax, and that's it, on top of the product. And
Yeah,
it's
Connecticut
pretty
is crazy with the tax.
inexpensive.
Massachusetts generated $1.65 billion in sales last year, despite falling prices. Fine Federal COO says that price gap is driving Connecticut customers out of state.
Yeah, our West Springfield location is really busy. It's about 15 to 20% Connecticut residents who go there. And so the impact of those border towns is huge.
Your reporter in Manchester,
Yeah.
Sierra Jordan, Channel 3,
It's too
Eyewitness
expensive
News.
in Connecticut. If you know, I'll probably go to Massachusetts one day. See, maybe next week I'll go, and I could go to a dispensary and pick something up from over there, because it is cheaper over there. To be honest with you, it is, and it does taste good from over there. A little bit strong, like more harsher than smooth, but you know, beggars can be choosers, and you know, I'm not begging, but I'm choosing to go to Mass because it is cheaper. Especially, I just wish they would take the medical from Connecticut. That's the only thing, because they don't. If I was going to use my license, I could use it in Maine, and I get a discount in Maine, but not in Massachusetts, which is stupid. That's the only thing I think is stupid between the licenses. All right, let's keep it moving. See what else we got here. Oh no, what the fuck is this? All right, let's watch.
Back, everyone, here to live now from Fox and Rose. Mike Bash, always great to be with you as we continue to roll on. All right, our next story takes us out to New York City, where the mayor, Zohran Mamdani, doubling down on the city's sanctuary policies. And we know President Trump isn't going to like that. So let's right now get more details on this. Fox 5 New York's Morgan McKay joining us here with the very latest.
Hey, Mike. So Mayor Zohran Mamdani today said that he and President Donald Trump have texted back and forth, quote, a handful of times since his meeting with the president this last November. The mayor says they texted the president after he threatened to pull federal funding and said he hasn't heard back yet from the president. Now, President Trump yesterday said that he is threatening to pull federal funding from sanctuary cities and states that have sanctuary cities starting on February 1st. The president did not give any details on what sort of funding would be affected when he made the announcement, but said it would be significant. This isn't the first time that the Trump administration has made an effort to freeze federal funding for certain programs. Governor Kathy Hochul said the state is ready to take the Trump administration to court if they try to cut funding. Mayor Zohran Mamdani said that he's also discussing the city's legal options with his corporation counsel.
These kinds of threats seriously. Any cut in funding would have a significant impact on the city's ability to not only fulfill the budget that it had to stay in the city. And I am proud of the team that we have ready at the hand to be able to respond to these kinds of threats.
That's an idiot. You already know how I feel about him.
Mamdani also announcing today that the city has now opened its enrollment portal for 3K and pre-K students for this upcoming fall school year. Mamdani blamed the former Adams administration for not only cutting funding for the program, but also for the lack of outreach and advertising to parents about the importance of early childhood education. The application portal will be open through February 27th for parents of kids turning 3 or 4 years old in 2026. Governor Hochul has included funding for the city to expand the pre-K and 3K program in her budget this year. And Mamdani says this means that there will be a seat for every pre-K and 3K student in the neighborhood that they live in.
This is a key part of what will be the focus of our work, and also why we are so proud of the commitment that we secured from the state. Of the $1.21 billion that were committed, more than $100 million was committed specifically to fixing 3K, to ensuring that not only could we offer every child one, but also that we could make it easier to actually take the city up on that offer.
Now, Mamdani also announcing today that he has now directed 7 city agencies through an executive order to create a comprehensive inventory of all the fines and fees that small businesses pay in New York City in an effort to eventually cut some of these fees. Reporting live, I'm Morgan Mackay. Mike, back to you.
Morgan, thanks so much for the updates. Yeah, it doesn't seem that far along. When we look back at November, you traveled to Washington, D.C., right outside of the White House, where Mamdani, President Trump, meeting. And it was a meeting, they all got together. Now, maybe a little bit cracks are forming.
Yeah, you know, I was surprised to hear that they've both been texting each other back and forth. Mamdani saying today that he's reached out to the president.
Mamdani is
reached out to him. He wouldn't go into too many details on exactly what they've been talking about.
Censored.
But he did say that they have been communicating back and forth, really showing, I think, their relationship being pretty strong since that meeting in November. I don't know of too many elected officials here in New York City, especially, that have a texting relationship with the president, but it's definitely significant in the fact that he does have this open communication line somewhat to the president, but the president not responding as of right now to his opposition when it comes to this threat about federal funding. But Mamdani said that he also spoke with the president when he arrested and detained the Venezuelan president, Nicolas Maduro. Mamdani said that he called the president shortly after that and expressed his opposition and anger over this decision. So they definitely have been talking, but it seems like maybe that could be over after this threat of federal funding, but maybe Mamdani finds a new way and a new opening to have that conversation with the president.
Yeah, we know that you'll continue to dig deep here in this story. Morgan Mackay, thanks so much for joining us on Live Now from Fox. We always appreciate it.
All right, just bring it back to me. Gonna set up the next. We got a few more to watch here. Give me 1 second. Okay. Guess this is a little of close to the story that's going on with New York. Well, we got something here out of Connecticut. So let's listen in to what they got to say here about this sanctuary bullshit.
President Trump is saying he intends to pull billions of dollars in funding from Connecticut because of the state's support for the policies that limit cooperation between local police and ICE. News 8 political reporter Mike Cerulli has more on this latest clash between the administration and Connecticut's Democratic-led state government.
Officially, the Connecticut law limiting cooperation with ICE is called the Trust Act. The political shorthand used by some is sanctuary, as in sanctuary state or sanctuary city. And if the president sticks to his word, Connecticut's status as a so-called sanctuary could soon come with a crushing price tag. During a Tuesday night speech in Detroit, the president issued a stern warning to states like Connecticut.
Starting February 1st, we're not making any payments to sanctuary cities or states having sanctuary cities.
Based on previous proclamations from the Trump administration, it's clear they consider Connecticut's Trust Act to fit their own definition of a sanctuary policy, a moniker that Connecticut's Democratic leaders roundly reject.
There's no legal definition of a sanctuary city. It's a made-up term by right-wing folks to kind of make people hate another group of people.
What the Trust
But you
Act
did that
does
along
do
with the
is broadly
Democratic
prohibit
Party.
local cops and state officials from working with federal immigration authorities, barring arrests solely on the basis of an immigration detainer request from the feds, and requiring a high-grade felony conviction, a signed court order, or a flag on the National Terrorism Watch List before a person can be handed over to ICE.
Basically, we're not going to deputize our law enforcement to help the federal
This guy's an
government
idiot.
carry out cruel and at sometimes
This guy's an
illegal
idiot.
type of operations.
I wish I could run
Ordinance with
around
similar
and
provisions to
see
the
him in
Trust
the
Act
street and call him a
explicitly
fucking
names the
idiot.
capital city as a sanctuary city.
They do everything possible to protect criminals at the expense of American citizens, and it breeds fraud and crime and all of the other problems that come.
Semantics aside, Democrats stand by the Trust Act and are actively exploring ways to expand its provisions. As for the threat to pull payments from Connecticut, the president was unclear exactly what he meant by that. But his pledge to pause any payments would seem to imperil the billions of dollars the federal government provides to Connecticut each year for Medicaid, as well as millions more for housing, education, and law enforcement partnerships. Should such a thing happen, Democrats see a drastic compounding effect with federal cuts that have already gone into effect, and in their view, harmed Connecticut's working families.
So this is just another example of him going in one direction and the American people saying, what about us? What are you doing for us to make our lives better? And the answer is nothing.
And Attorney General Tong told me this afternoon that he has not gotten official notice from the federal government about this latest threat, but he's ready to take the federal government to court for the 46th time. In Hartford, Mike Cerulli, News 8.
Okay, well, let's keep it moving. We got a little bit of liberal hive mind.
Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. And of course, here's your meme of the day brought to you by 5mind.com. You know, just when you thought that Ilhan Omar couldn't go any lower, she somehow manages to do the impossible. You know, Ilhan Omar certainly has a special skill. It's not exactly a good skill, but she's got a skill of saying possibly the dumbest, most insane thing and saying it with a straight face and an unbelievable sense of pride. And boy, is that skill on full display today. Ilhan Omar easily just said the absolutely most insane, most insulting thing of all of 2026. I know it's only been 12 days, but right off the bat, she's setting the bar pretty damn high, or you could argue pretty damn low. And I'm just going to be honest, at this point, it's less about the ideas, less about the debate, and more just me becoming a hater. I'm just counting down the days for Ilhan Omar to go down, for the feds to find some sort of criminal link, to either send her to the nearest penitentiary or denaturalize and deport. It's a matter of survival at this point. I don't know how much more of this I can take. Well, let me subject you to this, I guess we could call intellectual torture. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so obviously I feel like I don't really need to explain the context here. Massive multi-billion-dollar systemic widespread fraud from the Somali community in Minnesota. The feds are reacting and finally cracking down. No stone will be left unturned in Minnesota. And you know, usually on issues like fraud and waste of taxpayer monies, people like to say these shouldn't be partisan issues. No, but both sides should be equally against fraud, but that, of course, is in a perfect world. In our world, jump through hoops to justify, defend, and protect the fraudsters. And then comes Ilhan Omar signaling her frustration and outrage, not onto the state that have put our community in such a horrible light across the country, and the Trump administration.
I'm so exhausted in trying to ask what any of this, information has led to you finding any criminals that you have indicted that explains why you are wasting so much of our taxpayer resources and also terrorizing our communities in the amount of federal law enforcement agents that you have in the streets of our city and our state. There needs to be some sort of justice.
I mean, it's hard to make this stuff up. She's going on and on about being exhausted, desperately searching for a justification. I keep asking, what is the justification for all of this? Are you stupid? Well, clearly you think we're stupid. Either you're dumb or you think we're dumb, or you're just flat out evil and dishonest. I mean, come seen reports of billions of dollars in fraud happening in Minnesota. center scandal never happened. I mean, come on, she says this as we're now uncovering $700 million in cash that allegedly has been smuggled by Somalis through the Minneapolis airport.
So we're going to turn our attention back to the Somali fraud investigation. As we've discussed before, authorities have discovered suitcases containing hundreds of millions of dollars in a Minnesota airport. Now, in the meantime, Republicans are working to cut funding for Somali-led organizations with alleged ties to the massive fraud scandal. Now, as the FBI pushes forward with its own investigation, one key question arises: what does accountability even look like in this case moving forward?
She claims that she's exhausted asking what could possibly be the justification. She is either stupid, I mean monumentally stupid, or evil and dishonest. There's no in between here, and frankly I'm landing on the latter. It's the same thing all the time with these leftoids, this pretending of ignorance. I keep mentioning this infamous post, and I'll do it again because it applies, I mean, nearly 10 out of 10 times with these Democrats. It's amazing how much leftist discourse is just them pretending not to understand things, thus making discourse impossible. It's purposeful ignorance, as if they don't understand, as if she can't fathom the idea as to why there would be outrage, as to why federal agencies would be cracking down on her state and her community. I mean, this fake ignorance, while she knows very well that her backyard is essentially a fraud factory. Come on. And what's equally disgusting is the mainstream media's complicity in pushing this unethical Democrat crap. The panel in that discussion with Ilhan Omar, not one of those individuals on that panel pushed back. Not one of them. And they call themselves a news organization. They look down on us and say we lack credibility to be covering the daily news. Absolutely disgusting. They just nod along like freaking fake news zombies. As Ilhan Omar says the craziest thing of the freaking year, this really isn't that complicated. You know, actually, let me do you a solid, Ilhan, since you're searching far and wide like freaking Ash Ketchum, looking for the reason why. Well, just follow the freaking money, stupid. Follow the cases, the rampant fraud, the insane daycare, home care, elder care, autism scams. And that just scratches the surface, not to mention the Tim Walz connection that's currently being litigated, as he's being credibly accused of retaliating against whistleblowers. Or maybe, just maybe, let's mention the leaked recording of Keith Ellison colluding with Somali fraudsters. I mean, come on. It's the fraud. And let's not pretend like it's some abstract, ethereal concept. No, it's very real. And there have already been many cases that have been tried and these people have been convicted.
Let me ask you about the leadership in your state. Dozens of people in Minnesota have been charged and convicted with stealing millions of dollars of taxpayer money for government programs. Do you think Governor Walz did enough to stop the fraud in your state? And do you support his decision not to run for re-election?
Well, look, Governor Walz is the reason that we've got paid family leave in Minnesota. He's the reason we've got free school lunches. Him and I, we've been through thick and thin.
But did he do enough to combat fraud,
over these
Mayor?
last 5
Did he do
years?
enough to combat fraud?
Look, obviously, everybody could have done more to prevent fraud. And I think that's a fair point to make. Do more to prevent fraud. And you look what he's doing right now. He's setting up a whole bunch of infrastructure to do that. And by the way, look, the fraud's real. We've all got to acknowledge it. The fraud is very real. And by the way, when somebody commits fraud, and there are many that have done that, you investigate it, you charge, you prosecute, and you put the person in jail. As an individual, you put the person in jail as an individual. You do not hold an entire community, any community, accountable for the actions of individuals.
It's crazy how dishonest these people are. And it's crazy how they try to flip the whole thing and play the victim as if they're the victims. It's totally insane the way they try to downplay this stuff. I mean, what an insult, man. And of course, I can't believe I didn't mention this from earlier, but the biggest insult was for Ilhan Omar to signal outrage, not at the Somali fraud, the systemic theft of taxpayer dollars from her community, but rather to signal outrage at the Trump administration for supposedly wasting taxpayer dollars by trying to clean up this mess, her mess, after her community stole billions of dollars. Yeah, that's not a waste of money. In fact, I can't think of a better way to spend taxpayer dollars. Going after the real fraudsters, who of course are the real ones wasting taxpayer dollars now, aren't they? Not to mention Ilhan Omar earmarking millions of dollars from her legislative position for all of these Somali programs that ended up being complete scams. This woman once again reaches new lows. I mean, lows never thought thought possible. It's absolutely insane. And again, for me at this point, it's not even politics, it's personal. It's just insulting at this point. I'm not on the opposite side of the aisle. No, I am just a hater hoping for her downfall. Something has got to give. Something has got to happen. I hope she gets caught. I hope she gets found guilty. Frankly, I hope she gets denaturalized at this point. Ilhan Omar is a complete and utter disgrace. And so are all the other Democrats peddling in the same insane nonsense. Absolutely absurd the way they try to flip the script and make themselves the victim. Oh, actually, might as well use that as an excuse to play this Abby Phillips clip that I've just been dying to use in a video.
And they are blaming innocent people of color for what private contractors did, because that's how he signals to the base.
You know, actually, can I just ask, because I actually think that's a really interesting point that I haven't heard a lot of people make. Because the actual victims of this fraud are probably actually Somali families.
I mean, you cannot make this stuff up. But of course, none of it is surprising. Just more Democrat degeneracy that keeps getting worse and worse each year. Anyways, that's what I got. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
All right, so we're going to see him on the next one. Let's see what we got here. Bring it back to me. We have some news coming out of Fox News. So let's go over to Fox News. Let's go ahead and set this up real quick. Here we go. I guess that we got some breaking news coming in.
All right, this is a Fox News alert. This breaking just as we're coming on the air tonight. We have learned that there was an ICE-involved shooting in Minneapolis.
Another one?
Live to Alexis McAdams.
Are you kidding me?
Live on the ground with the details.
Another shooting.
Alexis, I've just been looking at these images that we're just getting a hold of now, and we'll keep them up for our audience to see. It looks like things are, spiraling out of control very quickly there.
Well, Sean, that's the thing, is it ebbs and flows. So 1 minute, there's a small protest at the federal building. The next minute, these people with whistles and an agenda show up to these different sites across the city. That's what DHS has been saying. What we know right now from our colleague Bill Malugin, who just got off the phone with his federal sources, Sean, is that a man who was a target of an ICE operation from Venezuela, who ICE says was in the country illegally, was a target in this operation here in Minnesota. So they go to the door. That's when they say this Venezuelan migrant held up a shovel, tried to assault one of their agents. And you can hear those chants there in the background as protesters show up. That's when they say,
look, they're protesting. How the fuck they get there that quick?
This Venezuelan teen, we're told, was shot in the leg, expected to be okay. But Malugin telling me there's actually a picture that a source texted him of this guy on a stretcher smiling, kind of giving a thumbs up as he's taken away to the hospital.
What the fuck?
On what's going on there at the scene. But it's become
what's going on in
here,
America?
and I saw it today when I was on the ground with law enforcement here, with ICE agents here in Minnesota.
Make me a
it's
salad.
something we've been keeping an eye on as it continues to grow. But it comes as the governor here, Tim Walz, who's also under investigation in this huge fraud scheme here, Sean, just told people, hey, these are just our neighbors. And if you see them getting arrested, take out your cell phone and record. Watch.
He's not helping.
Undertrained ICE agents are going door to door, ordering people to point out where their neighbors of color live.
This guy should be
They're pulling over
jailed.
people indiscriminately, including U.S. citizens, and demanding to see their papers.
This is treason.
And if
You know that,
see
right?
these ICE agents in your neighborhood, take out that phone and hit record. Help us create a database of the atrocities against Minnesota.
You hear this shit? This would have been our vice president.
Saw today on the
You hear this
streets
shit?
of Minneapolis. You can see the protesters are continuing to erupt here with anger. But when you talk to ICE agents, they say that they're being doxxed, they're being tracked, and they're being targeted here. We saw it before they even got out of the car today at some of these crime scenes. These people were out notifying law enforcement. Take a look at this.
It's crazy. These people are crazy.
And then also, we can tell you that the tactic, though, is not new here in the streets of Minneapolis. It's been rampant. Border czar Tom Homan telling Fox earlier the White House is actually looking into who these protesters you see on your screen are. You can see the pepper balls. You can see the pepper spray being shot. And this is what continues to happen, Sean. We can tell you it's been a week since Renee Nicole Good was shot here in the streets of Minneapolis, but ICE says they're not pulling out. This is targeted operation.
Hey, Sean Hannity here.
That
Hey,
is
click
wild,
here to
Sean Hannity. This is wild times we're living in. Like, what the hell is going on? It's just like, what the hell?
We are getting some news from the city of Minneapolis. Fox's Bill Malugin.
Another one bites the dust, but the other one was laughing when he carted through the ambulance.
Shooting involving federal law enforcement in North Minneapolis. We're working to confirm additional details. There have been Reports of another ICE-involved shooting. Fox's Bill Malugin with a little more context. I'm told by 4 law enforcement sources there has been another ICE-involved shooting in Minneapolis tonight. I'm told ICE was making contact with a target who then allegedly assaulted an officer with a shovel or swung a shovel. Shots were fired, and the suspect ran back to a house. No info yet on if anyone was actually shot, just that shots were fired. Very preliminary information. More as we get it.
Well, they said he got shot.
I'm now told that a suspect, believed to be Venezuelan, was indeed shot, but is okay, stable, and is now in custody. So, these live images are from the scene.
We better get ready to go to. He's going to jail.
Does in fact.
He's going to be
protesters
taken to his country.
I just saw a firework. I've got 4 different vantage points of this area, by the way.
It's crazy, man. Look at this shit now.
Looks like things are getting a little more active on.
Can't fucking work. How is this job security and job safe? You got all these people harassing you every day. What motherfuckers can do their job? This is bullshit, man. All these people should be arrested. Every single one of them should be arrested.
The exact area or how close this protest is to the area where that shooting or that shots fired incident took place. Clearly, this group of protesters advancing forward, screaming F ICE. And as we hear of another shooting taking place in the Twin Cities, this is certainly going to serve potentially another firework going off.
It's not the 4th of July.
Governor Tim Walz earlier this
Eat
evening,
me some salad.
about an hour and a half ago, making an address.
My doctor wants
to
me to lose like
Minnesotans.
10 pounds.
He said he had 4 messages for Minnesotans amid these.
How the fuck you want me to lose 10 pounds in the winter?
The governor saying President Trump wants this chaos and confusion on the streets. And he also said protesters need to be peaceful. It did appear to me like they were throwing some snow at those officers. And that's something that we've been seeing for days now as these demonstrations continue in Minneapolis. In some cases, ICE
this is now
has been thrown at immigration officials.
I could get a live feed
Another
if I
firework going
want,
off.
but I don't want to keep these guys up all night.
Flashbangs, by the way, in an effort to
Because the
disperse
show's wrapping up soon.
unlawful assemblies. Okay, looks like
I don't know how is this legit. How is this
might have
not
been a flashbang
interfering?
right there, actually. I just saw some of those demonstrators running away.
It's not First Amendment. I'm sorry. No. Yeah, that's not First Amendment.
And so seeing right now a lot of what we've
That's
been
threat.
seeing in recent days, these protesters telling ICE to get out of their city. Mayor Jacob Fry has told them to get out of their city. Governor Walz today telling, oh yeah, and it's curious to me, I'm curious if...
You okay? Yeah. I want to see Watson fucking handcuffed.
Yeah, so it sounds like, I'll turn the audio down. It sounds like the television crew that's filming this might have been exposed to the elements there. Unsure what exactly that smoke is made of. But certainly a crowd dispersal tactic we just saw on live television.
that was busted. I'm looking at the comments now.
Seems like
I wasn't on StreamYard, so I got to switch over
cooling
to
down for a
the
moment
comments.
on this camera. Let's move back to our other vantage point. This is the scene where that other officer-involved shooting took place earlier this evening.
This is stupidity that's going
Again,
on.
I'll read you what Bill
These
Malugin
people are
has.
not getting arrested. These people are
So far,
interference.
Malugin says
Every
that
night,
he's
the
told
same
by
shit,
4 law
man.
enforcement sources that there's
There's
been
going to be more
another
people getting
ICE-involved
killed.
shooting in Minneapolis tonight. He's told that ICE was making contact with a target who then allegedly assaulted an officer with a shovel or swung a shovel. Shots were fired, and then the suspect ran back to a house. Okay, it looks like this camera's running away. I'm not exactly sure what they're running from or what they're running toward, if anything. Putting the camera down, possibly. There is no audio coming through on this camera, just to be clear. Okay, now we got them.
Close your windows! Towels under the doors!
What? So stupid.
Sounds like tear gas.
Right here on this corner!
This is what they're doing. This is every
that's
fucking
gonna make
night.
everybody run away as
What a
quickly as
waste, right?
possible. A number of our crews have been exposed to the tear gas in recent days. Not uncommon, you see protesters carrying milk with them for these moments. Looks like one of those officers.
It makes the body good. Milk
feeling
them.
some sting in the eyes after
Milk them in the
tear
face.
gas was deployed.
It's funny. You come out with milk in your face. All right, we're gonna start wrapping it up. So let's watch some Tyson De La Cruz right now. So let's just jump right to it, okay?
A House committee this week approved a subpoena for a pro-Beijing billionaire who is suspected of bankrolling the organized protest.
America, Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna just caught Minnesota Governor Tim Walz in the ultimate lie. Luna just dropped a subpoena on a pro-Beijing billionaire living in Shanghai who bankrolled the Minnesota riots.
So
Neville Singham is a known Chinese billionaire. He spends most of his time actually in China and has been known to funnel efforts and funding into the United States.
We followed the money from Soros to Shanghai, and what we found is pretty interesting. Tim Walz didn't just visit China. He took over 30 trips there, including honeymooning during the Tiananmen Square anniversary. And those trips potentially funded by the CCP-linked scholarship program.
This specifically is being funded by an individual by the name of Neville Singham, who actually made his money by pushing communist Chinese propaganda. He's now funding and the guy behind all of these protests.
The Minnesota protests weren't organic. They're paid for by China through a billionaire who made his fortune pushing communist propaganda. What is up, guys? Tyson De La Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Let me show you exactly how China weaponized Tim Walz to create chaos in American cities. Let's start by shredding this quote-unquote Midwest dad facade that Timmy Tampon Walz has been hiding behind. They want you to think he's just a guy in a flannel shirt who coaches football and eats hot dogs. But this man has spent more times in the halls of Beijing than in the suburbs of his own state.
The question was, can you explain the discrepancy?
All I said on this was I got there that summer and misspoke. So I was in Hong Kong and China during the democracy protests went in. And from that, I learned a lot of what needed to be in governance.
He misspoke about being in China during Tiananmen Square. You don't accidentally misremember being in a country during one of the most significant massacres in modern history. That's not a mistake. That's a lie he got caught in.
Is it true also, I know on your campaign that you had admitted to visiting China anywhere from 15 to 30 times? So yes or no, please?
I did live in China. And
no, visiting, sir, in addition to living there and in addition to having, okay.
That's correct.
And for those of you that don't know, get this, he honeymooned in China during the Tiananmen Square anniversary. Who does that? Who chooses to honeymoon in a communist country during an anniversary of a massacre? Someone who's either completely tone deaf or completely compromised. Those trips were potentially funded by CCPD-linked scholarship programs, so China was paying for Tim Walz to visit, building a relationship, potentially creating leverage. This, my friends, is how foreign intelligence works. You don't just recruit people with bundles of cash. You build relationships over decades.
The Department of Homeland Security, sir, just to you, so that you're tracking, actually had an internal memo that was released that stated that the government of China considered you a prime target for influence operations.
Let that sink in. Our own Department of Homeland Security identified Timmy Tampon Walsh as a prime target for Chinese influence operations. And what did he do? He kept going to China. He kept building relationships. He kept taking their money.
During your time in Congress that you filed for a $5 million earmark that actually was secured, $2 million of it went to the Harmel Institute that actually collaborated with the Wuhan Institute.
That Wuhan Institute. So Tim Walsh, who's been identified as a Chinese influence target, directed American taxpayer money to an institute that collaborated with the lab at the center of the C-19 pandemic. And we're supposed to believe that this is all just a simple coincidence. This, my friends, is how China operates. They identify vulnerable, soft politicians, build relationships with them over decades, fund their trips. Then when those politicians have power, they direct American resources to Chinese interests. Now, let me introduce you allegedly to the man funding the chaos in Minnesota, Neville Roy Singham. This is a billionaire who lives in Shanghai, made his fortune pushing communist China propaganda, and now allegedly funnels that money into American protest movements.
According to the House Oversight Committee, they tell News Nation, he will be called to testify about his ties to the CCP, his funding of nonprofits, anti-Israel groups, protests on college campuses, and at least one of the groups connected to these Los Angeles protests.
Singham sold his company in 2017 for close to $1 billion. Then he moved to Shanghai and started funding organizations like People's Forum in New York City to the tune of millions and millions of dollars. And the People's Forum has a deep personal overlap with the Party of Socialism and Liberation, the communist political party organizing the anti-ICE protests in Minnesota. This may or may not be just conspiracy theory here, but Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna has officially subpoenaed Neville Singham. She's calling him to testify about his funding of these particular protest operations.
But we did have a bipartisan meeting supported by both Democrat and Republican subpoena issued out of oversight to Singham yesterday. And so he will be compelled to come before Congress. And if he does not, we will hold him in contempt.
Singham is not a registered foreign agent, even though he should be. He's violating FARA by funneling Chinese money into American political operations without registering. That is a federal crime. Let me break down allegedly how this operation works, because rioting and protesting is a business. It has a CEO. That's potentially Singham. It has a board of directors. That's Soros and other billionaire funders. And it has local branch managers, AKA like Tim Walsh, and these other blue state governors.
He has over, I believe it's 12 different groups that he's funding, one of which actually has ties to the Salt Lake City queer group that was responsible or being looked at for the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And so what we're finding is these organizations specifically that are focusing on issues that are dividing us, whether it's based on race or class.
And here's the genius of the operation. They use real issues to create chaos. They take legitimate concerns about immigration enforcement and weaponize them to create riots and protests that destabilize American cities.
You actually look at the social organization that's putting out these flyers. It's the Party for Socialism and Liberation, which is, and I kid you not, the actual Communist Party. So they're using Hispanics, they're using illegal immigrants, they're trying to hype people up thinking that they care, but they don't care.
China has studied how to destabilize countries from within. You don't invade with tanks and massive weapons. You fund protest movements, fund political politicians, create chaos, undermine institutions, control social media, and watch the country tear itself apart. And Tim Walsh, the local facilitator, he creates sanctuary policies that protect illegal immigrants from deportation. He refuses to cooperate with ICE. He lets riots burn his city and towns for days without calling in the National Guard. And when federal agents have to conduct operations in his state, he acts shocked that things get dangerous. Now, let me show you how this connects to the Minnesota riots and protests. The protests against ICE weren't spontaneous. We've seen this style over and over again. They're organized by the Party of Socialism and Liberation, potentially the same group funded by Singham.
Straight up, the LA riots have been organized by an organization dubbed PSL, the Party for Socialism and Liberation. funded by billionaire Chinese activist Neville Singham.
The LA riots, the Minnesota riots, same funding source, same organizational structure, same signs, same tactics. This is a coordinated operation funded by China to create chaos in American cities.
We actually just yesterday referred both the AG and Tim Walz to the Department of Justice for investigation, obviously obstructing federal law and intentionally turning down what they knew as fraud as a part of their position to protect taxpayers and also prevent fraudulent theft of our American taxpayer dollars.
Luna isn't just making accusations, she's filing criminal referrals, and the DOJ has confirmed receipts of those letters. Watch what happens when Luna confronts Walz directly about speaking at a rally organized by Chinese-funded groups.
Mr. Walz, that if you truly do uphold the American ideologies and perspectives on the Constitution, you should not be speaking at that rally. As of right now, I've authorized a letter to be sent to my office to the President of the United States to rescind millions of dollars in funding that we know are going to the No Kings protests that were authorized and basically given under the last administration. That is what Congress is supposed to do, not point fingers, not blame people, but actually ensure that the American people are protected.
That, my friends, is the moment Timmy Tampon Walz realizes that he was potentially caught. He can't defend speaking at a rally funded by Chinese communist money. He just rolls his eyes and hopes nobody notices. Now, here's where you, the audience, come in. America, we're digging deeper into this operation, following the money. We're tracking the particular connections, and we need your help. If you have any tips or additional leads on how these protest operations are funded, who's organizing them, how they get organized, who's paying who, or how the money flows from China to American streets, send all your tips and leads to tips.tysondelacruz@gmail.com. Again, that is tips.tysondelacruz@gmail.com. This isn't about one billionaire or one governor. This is infrastructure for destabilizing America from within. And the more that we expose it, the harder it becomes for them to operate. Luna is doing her part by subpoenaing Singham and referring Walz to the DOJ. But we need to keep the pressure on, because here's what they're counting on. They're counting on us to not pay attention. They're counting on you to believe that Timmy Tampon Walz is just a Midwest guy. They're counting on you to think these protests are organic grassroots movements instead of paid operations potentially funded by China. America, Tim Walz isn't a Midwest dad. He's China's American asset. Over 30 trips to China, potentially funded by CCP-linked programs, identified by DHS as a prime target for Chinese intelligence operations, directing taxpayer money to Wuhan-connected institutes. And now he's the local branch manager for a Chinese billionaire's riot operation. Neville Singham lives in Shanghai, made his fortune pushing communist propaganda, and funnels millions into American protest movements. This is how color revolutions work. They don't invade with tanks. They fund with chaos from within. Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna is exposing the entire operation. She's not backing down, and neither should you. Rioting is a business. It has a CEO, board of directors, and local branch managers. We're seeing it in Minnesota. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.
Pretty just weird. I can't wait till they get this guy in cuffs and just do the perp walk on him and just walk him out. Walk him out. Minnesota is in for a rude awakening. And, you know, they're going to want this little court and trial. They want the good. They want Renee Good to have justice. Yeah, she'll see her day in court. And guess what? She's going to lose. Even after death, she's still a loser. She's going to lose, and then people are going to freak out. They're going to riot, and they're going to burn down the city. They already know. It's already written on the wall. That's all these people know how to do, is just fuck things up and don't do anything to help. All right, let's continue to the last video of Tyson De La Cruz. Let's watch here. Set it up. Here we go.
And we're here to announce a lawsuit we're filing against the United States Department of Homeland Security to end the unlawful, unprecedented surge of the federal law enforcement agents into Minnesota.
America, This escalated quickly. Minnesota just sued the Department of Homeland Security not to protect citizens, not to stop crime, to protect illegal immigrants and fraud operations that have been bleeding taxpayers dry for years.
A lot of small businesses are becoming collateral damage in the ICE surge here in Minnesota. Business owners telling us there's a chilling effect on employees and customers.
And while they're suing DHS, businesses in Minnesota are losing revenue. Could it be because these businesses they're talking about are places like Leering Center Sandwich Shop? Maybe these same operations are connected to massive fraud schemes and Somalian migrants.
We allege that the obvious targeting of Minnesota for our diversity, for our democracy, and our differences of opinion with the federal government is a violation of the Constitution.
They ignored federal immigration law for years, but suddenly they're constitutional scholars when ICE shows up ready to enforce it. What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Let me show you exactly how Minnesota is spending more taxpayer money to protect the fraud that's been stealing from taxpayers for years. Let me start with this lawsuit because this is the tippity top of Democrat insanity. Minnesota is suing DHS to stop ICE enforcement. And who's paying for the lawsuit? You are. Minnesota taxpayers are funding the lawsuit to protect illegal immigrants from deportations.
We allege that the surge's reckless impact on our schools, on our local law enforcement, is a violation of the 10th Amendment.
They're alleging that ICE enforcement violates the 10th Amendment and the state's sovereignty. But here's what they're not telling you. States don't have sovereignty over federal immigration law. That's explicitly a federal power. So Minnesota is spending more taxpayer money on lawsuits that they know they're going to lose just to create the appearance that they're fighting for their constituents. But which constituents are they actually fighting for? Not the ones being victimized for fraud, not the ones whose businesses are struggling because of crime. We're talking about the illegal immigrants and the fraudsters.
Entire districts have had to cancel school for tens of thousands of students to ensure safety and offer online education because of the students and the parents' fear of coming into the school.
You know why people are afraid? Because Minnesota created a sanctuary state that attracts illegal immigrants and fraud operations that
Yeah, when they got that many,
ICE didn't create this problem. Minnesota,
10,000?
you did. But instead of fixing the root cause, they're suing DHS and spending more taxpayer money. My advice to you, if you live in Minnesota with half a brain cell, get the heck out of there. Your state government doesn't care about you.
Revenues are down. And some retail stores, daycares, and restaurants have actually closed because people are afraid to go out.
The media wants you to believe that legitimate businesses are suffering. Let me ask you something. Which stores did they actually check? This business owner has been broken into 3 times and nobody cares. But ICE shows up to remove criminals and suddenly, miraculously, Minnesota is concerned about business revenue.
You know, Mary was talking about the lawsuit that the state and a couple of cities have filed. Well, that says that a lot of the customer-facing businesses in both Minneapolis and St. Paul have lost 50 to 80% of their revenue.
They're claiming businesses lost 50 to 80% in their revenue. But which businesses? These are probably the same operations that have been connected to fraud schemes in the Somalia community. These are, quote unquote, the businesses that Minnesota is so concerned about protecting. Here's what's really happening. The fraud operations are losing revenue because their customer base is being deported. They're being deported. The illegal immigrants who were using these establishments as front for fraud schemes are now leaving. And Minnesota is acting like this is a tragedy instead of law enforcement working as it's intended. The fraud in Minnesota needs to stop now. But Minnesota would rather sue DHS than crack down on fraud that's been bleeding them dry. While Minnesota is filing lawsuits and crying about business revenue, the Trump administration is doubling down. 1,000 more federal agents are being deployed to Minnesota.
More than 2,000 immigration arrests have been made since the Department of Homeland Security began its operation in December.
Over 2,000 arrests since December. This is the largest ICE operation ever conducted in Minneapolis. And Minnesota's response? Sue to make it stop.
The Homeland Security Secretary, Kirsty Noem, pledged to send hundreds more agents to the area.
hundreds more agents coming because unlike Minnesota's leadership, the Trump administration actually cares about enforcing immigration law and protecting American citizens. But here's what makes Minnesota's lawsuit even more absurd. They're claiming ICE is terrorizing communities and making people afraid to send their kids to school. You know what actually terrorizes communities? Fraud operations, Somalia gangsters that Minnesota has been protecting.
Public schools in their area are offering remote learning.
I'm a teacher, and I think that the fact that ICE has been targeting schools around here, making it difficult for children to just like get a public education, terrorizing parents, the fact that I have to worry about my kids being outside because of this sort of terrorism happening out front.
This teacher is calling ICE enforcement terrorism. No, you know what's terrorism? Allowing fraud operations to steal hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars from taxpayers, protecting illegal immigrants who commit crimes, creating sanctuary policies that make your city a magnet for illegal immigration. ICE isn't the problem. Minnesota's failed leadership the problem. Now, let me tell you what this lawsuit is really about. It's not about protecting innocent immigrants. It's about protecting the fraud operations that have been funneling money to Democrat politicians and their allies for years. Minnesota has been ground zero for massive fraud schemes. Daycare fraud, pandemic relief fraud, autism, housing, Somalia sandwich shops, foot massage, you name it. And the common thread, many of these operations are connected to communities that Democrat politicians depend on for votes and pander to.
Plenty of folks wearing whistles, watching for ICE up and down Central Avenue.
Look at this coordination, ICE watchers. Guys, you watch out. You got the ICE watch. Dun, 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 ICE watch. Whistles. Or federal agents are in the area. This isn't spontaneous community concern. This is an organized operation to obstruct federal enforcement. And Minnesota's lawsuit is designed to provide legal cover for this obstruction. They're trying to create the legal framework that would make it harder for ICE operations in their particular state, which essentially would protect fraud operations from federal investigation. The fraud needs to stop now, but Minnesota would rather spend taxpayer money suing DHS than cracking down on the fraud that's stealing from the same taxpayers. Now let's talk about Minnesota's sudden interest for constitutional law. Because, my friends, this is rich. For years, Minnesota has ignored federal immigration law. They created sanctuary policies that explicitly violate federal statutes. They refuse to cooperate with ICE detainers. They obstruct federal enforcement at every single turn.
We allege that DHS's use of procedures act on arbitrary and capricious federal actions.
But now, all of a sudden, they're constitutional scholars. Now they care about Administrative Procedures Act and arbitrary federal action. Where was this concern when they were violating federal immigration law? Oh, yeah. So now Minnesota wants to start reading law. They ignored it for years when it suited their political interests. They're experts at constitutional limitation.
Minnesota's non-citizen population is just 1%, and the percentage is lower than Utah, Texas, and Florida's, but none of those states, thousands of agents.
And listen to this argument. Fair targeted illegal immigration population. And they're saying that it's smaller than Texas and Florida. That's actually the point. Minnesota's sanctuary policies have made it a magnet for illegal immigration despite its small population. Not to mention all that's why ICE is there. Texas and Florida immigration enforcement. That needs my agency because the state government is actively working against them. Let me speak directly to my people in Minnesota for a moment. Your state government is spending your taxpayer dollars to sue the federal government to protect illegal immigrants and fraud operations. They're not protecting you. They're not making your community safer. They're not cracking down on fraud that's stealing from you. They're more concerned about the chilling effect on fraud operations than they are about the actual crimes being committed. They're more worried about illegal immigrants feeling uncomfortable about American citizens being victimized. Here's the reality. Minnesota leadership constituents They care about maintaining.
Oh, well, something dropped off. That was the end of the Tyson. It just dropped off. That was weird. I'm telling you, YouTube has been very weird. I'm trying to figure all this shit out now. Give me a second. Because everything just went a little weird on me. But I hope everyone's having a good night. Let's see. All right, well, I guess that was that. We're going to go to the last video of the night because I'm not going to get caught up in this craziness. I'm ready to go to bed. I am tired. I don't know about you guys, but I had a long day today. And I'm ready to check in and check out. But let's go ahead and set this one up. It'll be the last video of the night. So let me just get it ready. All right. It's Jason A. Last video of the night. Here we go. Set up the sound. If it lets me. Yeah, you see everything's just acting a little weird. Weird. All right, here we go.
Riots, arson attacks on public and private property, and above all, terrorism. Shooting at civilians, firing on armed forces and police are things no country would tolerate. I hope that some countries that have taken very misguided positions will pay attention to the realities on the ground.
Look, one death is too much, but I hear much lower numbers and then I hear much higher numbers. But I say save their names because they'll pay a very big price.
But the disturbing videos are increasingly rare. With the internet already cut by the government, this morning, a human rights group tells NBC News state security services are now hunting for the few satellite communication systems activists have been using to smuggle out videos.
Wow.
And are even going house to house to physically cut phone lines and plunge Iran into a total internet darkness.
When you cut landlines, it's also very evident that they are trying to prevent the organization of actors inside the country. And it's not successful. People are still coming to the street in massive numbers.
After more than 2 weeks of protests, during which human rights groups say thousands of demonstrators have been killed, President Trump issued a message Tuesday to Iranian protesters.
Keep protesting, take over your institutions if possible. And all I say to them is help is on its way.
Americans woke up this morning and they saw that you said help is on the way.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Well, there's a lot of help on the way and in different forms, including economic help from our standpoint, and not going to help Iran very much.
In an interview with CBS Evening News anchor Tony DeCopel, the president said the U.S. is prepared to take strong action against Iran.
And when they start killing thousands of people, and now you're telling me about hanging, we'll see how that works out for them. It's not going to work out good. But we'll straighten that out. But Iran is on my mind when I see the kind of death that is happening over there, we think. So we're going to get some accurate numbers. I'll have it in about 20 minutes. We'll get some accurate numbers as to what's happening with regard to the killing. The killing looks like it's significant, but we don't know yet for certain. I'll know within 20 minutes. So,
as the Iranian crisis goes on, the White House is itching to take some sort of action, but we don't really know what sort of action they may be considering.
A U.S. official with direct knowledge of events tells NBC News protests have now spread to every Iranian province, that the crowds remain huge, and that the government appears to be on its heels. The Speaker of Iran's parliament warned if the U.S. attacks, American bases will burn. President Trump has said that would be a big mistake.
if they did that, it'll be met with a very, very powerful force.
In Iran, state media, the only media amid the tightening communications blackout, are telling Iranians the government is in full control and calling the protesters rioters. As pro-government counter-protesters have been mobilized, Iran's president took to the streets to show he's still in charge.
Yeah, I think the Iranian regime is under more threat right now domestically than they ever have been before. I think that's reflected in the outreach on the part of the Ayatollah to the United States for some negotiations, potentially about the nuclear program. Iran knows that their economy is in free fall. They're suffering from a shortage of water. All of those things have fueled these protests, and it threatens Iran's regime. And so what they want is to negotiate and put an end to those sanctions. I think the Trump administration will certainly listen. It's a good opportunity for us to collect information on how bad things are inside Iran. But I think the Trump administration might do well to let these protests play out and not be in a rush to eliminate or reduce those sanctions, which are having such a serious impact on the regime's security.
Okay, well, on that very point, President Trump posted this to Truth Social yesterday. Effective immediately, any country doing business with the Islamic Republic of Iran will pay a tariff of 25% on any and all business being done with the United States of America. This order is final and conclusive. And this whole protest started as an economic protest, and these new tariffs certainly aren't going to make anything easier on the regime. The president is going to be weighing his wide range of options today.
And if we think about military strikes, there are three types of target that would make a certain amount of sense to the United States. One type of target might be the nuclear facilities of Iran. There are plenty of them. There are many of them that the United States would still like to attack, and so would the Israelis. The problem with that is that it wouldn't actually help the protesters very much, and it will be an attack on some background elements of Iran, which might be quite counterproductive. A second set of targets might be the Revolutionary Guard headquarters and the way in which they operate in the major cities. But the problem is they do operate in the major cities like Shiraz and Isfahan and Mashhad and Tehran. And so attacking their facilities almost certainly would cause civilian casualties, and that too might be counterproductive. A third sort of target might be the oil and gas infrastructure of Iran. And this would have an immediate effect, particularly in areas like Hag Island and Bandar Abbas. The South Pars gas field is the biggest single gas field in the world. It's shared with Qatar. Hitting the gas field would be a very foolish thing to do, but hitting the transmission of Iranian gas from the field to the inland areas, to places like Bashir, that might have a very immediate economic effect on the government in Tehran. Ultimately, of course, it would affect the people of Tehran. It would affect the economy pretty directly, but it would affect the government in Tehran even more directly. And that might be a tempting set of targets for the United States.
Yeah.
Ultimately, of course, all of this is about whether the outbreak of disorder, and that's our current map of how big the disorder is across Iran, whether that outbreak of disorder is better helped by military action or by non-military action.
But the sad news is that we had more casualties in the last 2 days, 4 times the number of people who were dead as a result of the 9/11 terrorist attack.
We're trying to get our head around that. What is the number? That
about 12,000 plus. 12,000 plus. That's what we get so far. It might be more, but that's the minimum number that we know so far. Have been
killed by the regime. This is not arrested. This is
we are talking about using military weapons, AK-47s, armored trucks to shoot to kill unarmed protesters. Their bodies are being picked up by bulldozers, and they charge each family for the bullet to be able to just retrieve the remains. It's abhorrent what's happening.
Obviously, we have no way to verify that independently. We've had reports of 3,000, 4,000 plus. The president's talked about thousands. And he said that it's crossing this red line, and he's going to make a decision. You've been on record before opposing U.S. military intervention in Iran. Are your views different today?
But when you have civilians being murdered, massacred in a war that is waged against them by their own government, when the regime orders troops to fire on unarmed crowds, defenseless people, the only way they have a chance to have an equal playing field to overcome this regime is when they cannot neutralize this repressive force, some additional help is needed. I don't look this as an aggression to a country. I'm talking about helping a nation liberate itself by giving them assistance that cannot otherwise obtain on their own. That's why it's critical and empowering But a message of strength says we are not going to stand for this and will not turn our back on these people. What the president said was so energizing, and it caught like wildfire, and people are going back to the streets to continue the fight.
Listen, something's gonna happen. I know Trump is just talking shit just to play filler. They have a plan. You know, it takes time. Satellites are always at play. They're always monitoring from above. You know, they got a position, the equipment and so forth. And that usually takes, about a week. So we'll see what happens. And will Israel take part in this operation? Will they back the United States with Air Force, like with their force, and help eliminate the targets? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. It's 2026. It's going to be very interesting. So with that said, have a good morning, good afternoon, and a good night. And I'll catch you on the flip side. Like I say always, I'll be on here tomorrow, 7:30. Look out for me. Watch my shorts. Look at my shorts. Oh no, don't do that. No, yeah, look at the shorts and bench watch. They're really good. I'm opening up these Pokemons. It's ASMR where you just listen, me opening it up, and hopefully we get good hits. That's all like we want is good hits, but sometimes we get that, and we'll just keep it moving. Leave a like and subscribe. And with that said, I'm off. Take care, guys. Have a good one. Peace.